Chapter 586. She had thought that it was the other party who had approached Luo Xining alone. Now it seemed that the royal family of Tianyu knew about it as well. The other party had attacked the original owner of the body because of Yuan Mo? Was it a coincidence that the poison had blinded the original owner of the body, or had the other party done it on purpose? Was Yuan Mo the reason for the other party to attack the original owner of the body, or was it true? Luo Qingtong felt that this matter was getting more and more interesting. Tell me everything you know. Luo Qingtong's voice was cold. She had already ordered Bei Qing, Fengyu and the others. Can you form a boundary to block the connection between this space and the outside world? Can you prevent others from sensing what is happening here from thousands of miles away? With the experience of being silenced once, Luo Qingtong directly eliminated this possibility this time. She believed that with Bei Qing and Fengyu's strength, they would definitely be able to do this. The people around that man were not ordinary people. Sure. You can ask me anything you want. As soon as Luo Qingtong said that, Bei Qing, Fengyu and Fengyu reacted immediately. Fengyu nodded. Bei Qing and the others had already released their auras and isolated the space around Luo Qingtong. Under their auras, no one could detect what was happening in the space unless they were above the Saint Realm. Even if there was a boundary, it could not be touched. Looking at their actions, Luo Qingtong threw Yu Wenxue on the ground. She pulled a chair and sat in front of her. She said coldly, "Speak. Who is she?" Luo Qingtong, are you scared? Yu Wenxue did not notice what Luo Qingtong said to Bei Qing and Fengyu. She did not know that Bei Qing and Fengyu were the bodyguards of Ming Zun in the Black Field. At this moment she looked at Luo Qingtong and laughed maniacally. That is Princess Feng Yuan of the Great Yong Dynasty. The first princess of the Great Yong Dynasty, the first noble lady, and the first genius. Princess Feng Yuan reached the Martial King realm at the age of 16. Now she has surpassed the Martial Emperor realm and entered the Martial Spirit realm. I heard that she will soon reach the Martial Grandmaster realm. At that time, she will be only one step away from the Saint realm. She is ranked first in the Young Phoenix list of the 4 sacred academies. Luo Qingtong, the difference between you and her is like heaven and earth. That evil Dr. Ghost Eye of yours can only scare others. You are nothing in front of her. Yu Wenxue became more and more. If Luo Qingtong hadn't taken over the engagement with her royal brother and made him insist on not breaking off the engagement, Princess Fengyuan might have been together with her royal brother long ago. Princess Fengyuan was a proud daughter of the heavens. How could she be involved with a man who was already engaged? It was all Luo Qingtong's fault. Yu Wenshue's heart was filled with resentment. She did not care about her current situation. She looked at Luo Qingtong with eyes that were filled with poison. Luo Qingtong did not bother to pay attention to her. Yu Wenxue was arrogant and did not know much about the outside world. She was like a frog at the bottom of a well. In her opinion, Luo Qingtong's evil Dr. Ghost Eye's identity could only be flaunted outside of the 4 sacred dynasties. She did not know that Luo Qingtong's identity was something that even the major powers of the 4 sacred dynasties wanted to investigate. The 4 sacred dynasties did not lack alchemists. But for someone like Luo Qingtong who could refine elixirs at such a young age that were comparable to those reclusive elders, there was no one else. As for cultivation, Luo Qingtong was already a mid-level martial king at the age of 15. Chapter 587. The Blackfield people looked at Yu Wenxue as if they were looking at an idiot. They wondered where she had come from when she said that Luo Qingtong and Princess Feng Yuan were as different as clouds and mud. Did she really think that just anyone was worthy of the Blackfield's protection? Even if their lord didn't fall in love with the evil doctor, the latter couldn't be humiliated. Luo Qingtong deserved the Blackfield's careful treatment. If that Princess Fengyuan wanted to trample the evil doctor to the bottom of the mud, she was probably not qualified. Alright, I'm done asking. You can deal with the rest. Luo Qingtong couldn't be bothered to look at Yu Wenxue. She got up and left. Seeing her leaving figure, Yu Wenxue struggled to stand up and shouted at Luo Qingtong. Luo Qingtong, didn't you hear what I said? Princess Fengyuan is so powerful and has fallen in love with my royal brother. If she knew what you did to us, she wouldn't let you and the Luo family off. Stop. Stop right there. Come back. She hysterically shouted at Luo Qingtong's leaving figure. Her expression was crazed to the extreme. Yu Wenxue was very scared. She knew in her heart how vicious the punishment she had just mentioned to Luo Qingtong was. She didn't want to end up in that situation. Luo Qingtong must be scared. She was just holding on. She would soon turn around and let go of her. However, no matter how she shouted, Luo Qingtong didn't turn around. She just left. From the looks of it, he didn't take her words seriously at all. Yu Wenshua's expression stiffened. At this moment, a Blackfield person spoke. I really don't know where your confidence comes from. Her Excellency the Evil Doctor is someone our Lord loves. Her strength has already reached the mid-level Martial King realm. Within a year he went from the Martial Master realm to the Martial King realm. No one can compare to him. That Princess Feng Yuan is the #1 genius of the Great Yong Dynasty, #1 on the Young Phoenix list of the 4 great sacred academies? Don't worry, it won't be for long. It was more than enough for the Evil Doctor to enter the Sacred Academy of the Empire of Qin. At that time, it would be hard to say who would be the real #1 on the Young Phoenix leaderboard. Hearing the Blackfield member's words, Yu Wenshua's face was completely lifeless. She stared blankly at the man from the Blackfield, his words echoing in her mind. Luo Qingtong was the girl that their lord had fallen in love with. She was a mid-level martial king. How old was Luo Qingtong? 15 years old? Yu Wenshua's voice trembled as she laughed. His laughter sounded like he was crying, and his expression was unbelievably twisted. Lord of the Blackfield? Isn't that the Blackfield underworld venerable? No matter how ignorant Yu Wenshue was, it was impossible for her not to have heard of his name. Luo Qingtong was actually the girl that the Blackfield underworld venerable had fallen in love with. How could this be? How could this be? However, Yu Wenshue had no choice but to believe the Blackfield member's words. She thought about how she had used her status as Princess Feng Yuan to pressure Luo Qingtong. How could her status be compared to the Blackfield underworld venerable? They weren't even on the same level. The difference between the clouds and mud. Who was the clouds and who was the mud? At this time, the fainted Empress of Tianyu slowly regained consciousness. Her body began to tremble violently when she heard the words of the man from the dark domain. In the next second, her eyes rolled back, white foam came out of her mouth, and she fainted again. Before she lost consciousness, her heart was filled with regret. Chapter 588. The Blackfield's Ming Zun. With the Blackfield's Ming Zun, she and Yu Wenshue couldn't die even if they wanted to. They could only taste the vicious punishment she had just uttered. That was definitely something more terrifying than death. Just as the Tianyu Empress fainted, Luo Qingtong had already flown out of the Tianyu Imperial Palace and returned to the Luo family on the spirit ship. She didn't need to worry about the Tianyu Empire anymore. The Ling family wanted to replace the Tianyu Imperial family so they would take care of everything. Otherwise, why would she ask them to come? When they returned to the Luo family, the sky was already dark. After eating something, Luo Qingtong used the Ming Zunai technique to draw what she saw after turning back time. She handed it to the Blackfields people and asked them to investigate. She turned around and went back to her room. Without even turning on the light, she lay down on the bed and fell into a deep sleep. She was too tired. The battle in the Kaiyuan secret realm and the drawing of the inscription of space were extremely exhausting. After coming out of the Kaiyuan secret realm, she received the news and hurried back to the Luo family. She didn't even rest. After this round of battle, his entire body's essence, energy and spirit were almost exhausted. After returning home and finishing her business, she directly lay down. When she was lying on the bed, Luo Qingtong was still thinking in a daze, as if she had forgotten something. But she was so tired that her brain couldn't work at all. She fell asleep just like that. In the dimly lit room, Yi Chenxian lay on Luo Qingtong's bed, his whole body stiff. Beside him was the girl's warm and soft body. It was exactly the same feeling as in his memory. This woman fell asleep as soon as she came back. Yi Qianren didn't even have the time to open her mouth when she saw her fall onto her body. That movement didn't even pause for a moment. He even raised his hand to support her, but this woman didn't feel anything. Looking at the face of the young girl sleeping in front of her, Yi Qianmin didn't know why, but she felt her body heating up. He looked at the girl's sweet sleepy eyes. That pair of eyes that were always evil and crafty were now tightly shut. Her nose was small and delicate, and her cherry lips were slightly pursed. She looked indescribably obedient. A strand of hair hung down from her temples and landed on the girl's lips. Yi Qianxian's eyes lit up when he saw the bright red lips under her black hair. He suddenly remembered the soft touch he felt on his lips when he was beside Luo Qingtong. He couldn't help but lean down. Just as he was getting closer and closer to Luo Qingtong, getting closer and closer to the girl's pink petal-like lips, suddenly, shwa! A pink figure instantly sprang out from Luo Qingtong's sleeve. I didn't see anything. He didn't see anything. Go on. Little Pig covered his eyes with his 2 pig hooves and dashed away at lightning speed. Oh my God. This woman didn't check if there was someone beside her when she fell down. Seeing this man secretly kiss her, I wonder if I'll be made into a roasted suckling pig. Little Pig ran away with a swoosh and disappeared in the blink of an eye. That speed had broken through the limit. I'm afraid I'll be killed by Yi Qianxian if I'm not careful. That would be such an unjust death. Yi Qianxian's face turned ashen when he saw Little Pig's departing figure. Chapter 589. The two looked into each other's eyes. Yi Qianxian's body stiffened all of a sudden. His body was still bent over slightly and he was about to kiss her. His thin and sexy lips were only a few millimeters away from Luo Qingtong's pink lips. As long as Luo Qingtong or Yi Qianxian moved slightly, their lips would touch. Yi Qianxian's face was indescribably stiff when he was caught trying to steal a kiss. At this moment, Luo Qingtong opened her eyes and looked at him. She blinked her eyes and looked at him for a while. Then she raised her hand, hugged his neck and kissed him on the lips. Yi Qianxian? She looked at the man in front of her with misty eyes. Be good. I'm so sleepy. Don't mess around. Luo Qingtong was very sleepy at this moment. She was still half asleep. When Yi Qianxian faced Little Pig earlier, the cold aura around him triggered the alarm in her heart, and she was pulled out of her deep sleep. But after seeing Yi Qianxian's face, the alarm in her heart was lifted. During this period of time, Luo Qingtong had gotten used to sleeping with Yi Qianxian on the same bed as little Mingzun. Now that she suddenly saw his face, Luo Qingtong, who had completely forgotten that Yi Qianxian was looking for her, subconsciously thought that Yi Qianxian was little Mingzun. Although she was a little curious about how little Mingzun recovered so quickly. Luo Qingtong was extremely sleepy, and her brain had stopped working. She didn't have the energy to think about this at all. She just hugged the man's neck, yawned and leaned into the man's arms. Go to sleep, she said, and habitually kissed Yi Qianxian again. Although it was weird for a man to change back to his normal size. However, Luo Qingtong hadn't woken up yet, so she didn't notice this problem. In an instant, Yi Qianxian's eyes turned dangerous. His gaze was deep as he looked at the half-asleep and half-awake young girl who was as delicate and enchanting as a cat. With a flip of his body, he pressed her under his body. Sleep? His voice was deep and hoarse. Luo Qi, are you trying to seduce me? This time Luo Qingtong sobered up. Oh my God. She glared at the man on top of her. Yi Qianxian's slender figure contained great strength. His muscles were warm and elastic. When they were pressed against her body, she felt a burning sensation. This time, Luo Qingtong's eyes widened in an instant. Ha ha, my lord. Hello? Luo Qingtong was just about to say, what a coincidence, when she realized that this was a must-have line when she saw Yi Qianxian, but it didn't seem right to use it at this moment. Immediately, she changed her line. Ah, what a surprise. She laughed dryly. Really? That's what I think too. Yi Qianren looked at her deeply. The light in her eyes was getting brighter and brighter. The two kisses just now were indeed very surprising. And they were very sweet. I'll grant your request. Oh my God. This was a complete misunderstanding. Luo Qingtong's lips twitched. She thought that Yi Qianxian's main body was little Mingzun. Luo Qingtong could tease little Mingzun as much as she wanted without any psychological burden. Little Mingzun's power was restricted by her. However, it was different when facing Yi Qianxian's main body. Seeing the man's body pressing down on her and his eyes burning, Luo Qingtong was shocked and subconsciously wanted to step back. Chapter 590. MMM. Luo Qingtong raised her head. Before she could say wait, Yi Qianxian had already grabbed her shoulders and kissed her. The girl's lips were slightly parted when she opened her mouth, giving Yi Qianren the opportunity to enter. The man's lips and tongue flashed into her mouth, attacking her. Luo Qingtong's eyes widened slightly, and the 5 fingers that were grabbing onto Yi Qianxian's clothes suddenly tightened. In the next second she suddenly raised her leg and bumped into Yi Qianxian. The man was immersed in this kiss. Seeing this, he quickly raised his hand to block, and at the moment when the strength in his body was about to burst out. When he thought of the little woman in his arms, he instantly forcibly retracted that burst of power. This pause instantly gave Luo Qingtong the opportunity to break free. A bloody light flashed in her eyes, and her body twisted and turned like a snake, immediately breaking free from the man's embrace. Whoosh! Her figure quickly retreated, and in an instant she broke free from Yi Qianxian's embrace. Luo Qi. Seeing Luo Qingtong break free from his restraint, Yi Qianxian gritted his teeth. This woman, she's relying on the fact that I can't bear to hurt her. Otherwise, how could she have the chance to escape from my hands? Yi Qianxian felt a burst of depression in his heart. He sat up and stretched out his hand to Luo Qingtong. Come here. He narrowed his eyes slightly. This sovereign won't touch you today. This woman, if she hadn't provoked me, I wouldn't have lost control just now. Great, now she's running away after lighting a fire. I still have to worry that she'll run far away and I won't be able to find her. This woman, she's the only one who can make me suffer like this. Yi Qianxian, you like me? Luo Qingtong's eyes flashed slightly as she looked at him. Yi Qianxian didn't know why, but he suddenly felt that Luo Qingtong's gaze seemed to contain many things. It's you who likes me. He coldly snorted. At this moment, the aloof and ruthless man had an inexplicable sense of pride and arrogance. I'm just giving you a chance. What did he mean by he liked her? She was the one who liked him first, so he allowed her to be the exception. This woman was used to distorting the truth and even liked to say one thing and mean another. Luo Qingtong looked at his cold expression that was the same as little Ming Zun's arrogant expression, and the light in her eyes became brighter. Do you really like me? Do you know what will happen if I fall in love with you? The man she fell in love with would either love her or die. Luo Qingtong was not easily moved, but once she was moved, she would never allow betrayal. However, Yi Qianxian was a man whom she could neither control nor provoke. What would she do if he had a change of heart? Luo Qingtong did not dare to gamble. After so many years of being in the 24th century, she had only retreated in front of Yi Qianxian. If that was not the case, why would she avoid him again and again? Could she really not see that this man was lenient and protective of her? If she didn't have the same thoughts as him and this man wanted to catch her again and again, according to her temperament, she would have already taken the initiative and seized the opportunity to kill him. But she had never thought of it like this. I don't need to know. Yi Qianxian squinted at her and flicked his sleeves. I only need to know that I won't let that result happen. Come here. He reached out his hand to Luo Qingtong. Yi Qianxian, I gave you a chance. Luo Qingtong's eyes flashed with blood. Yi Qianxian didn't say anything and just reached out his hand to her. Chapter 591. Luo Qingtong jumped up and rushed to Yi Qianxian. She ignored the man's outstretched hand and looked at Yi Qianxian. She pushed him onto the bed and sat on top of him. Luo Qi. Looking at her actions, the veins on Yi Qianxian's forehead bulged. He was about to get up. Suddenly, Luo Qingtong bent down and pouted her lips. She whispered in his ear, Don't move. I'm injured. It's not good if I get injured again. The moment her words came out, Yi Qianni's movements instantly froze. You're injured? He looked at the girl who was sitting on top of him. He didn't care about her rebellious behavior. He turned his palm and held her wrist. He transferred his qi into her. Luo Qingtong looked at his actions with a smile. Her lips curled up even more. I'm fine. I just broke through too quickly and hurt my meridians. I'll be fine after a few days of rest. In the Kaiyuan Mystery Land, little Ming Zun disappeared. Luo Qingtong couldn't control her anger and broke through to the Martial King realm. Although she had the Yang Soul Soul Stone and Yang Soul Royal Stone from the Yin Yang Soul Mountain to assist her, in the end she had been unable to hold back her anger. She had used the 1,000-year soul guiding wood to absorb and transform too much Yin soul energy, nearly causing her meridians to explode. She had severely injured the dead Soul King with one strike. That would leave a hidden danger in her meridians. When she came back, she didn't rest. After killing the martial Grand Emperor expert of the Tianyu royal family, Luo Qingtong felt that her meridians were torn apart. However, this level of injury wasn't difficult for Luo Qingtong to heal. She was just too tired. Otherwise, she would have healed her meridians when she came back. She would be fine if she didn't use her qi. Yi Qianxian probed her body with his qi. He found that she wasn't lying. His face turned cold. Who did it? When did this happen? Damn it, he should have followed her to the Tianyu Empire. He shouldn't have stayed in the Luo family just to argue with this woman. Otherwise, how could she be injured? Bei Qing and Feng Yu were too weak in protecting him. Bei Qing, Feng Yu, and the others would be crying if they knew that they had become the scapegoat for no reason at all. Your meridians were injured, yet you still dared to attack me. Yi Qianxian looked at Luo Qingtong coldly. Although he was being suppressed by her, he was very unhappy. However, considering this woman's temperament, he continued to let her press down on his body. This woman was really bold. If it wasn't for him retracting his hand quickly and restraining the power in his body so as not to hurt her, he was afraid that when she struggled out of his embrace, her injuries would have worsened. Why can't you behave yourself? Which woman was like her? Can't you just let me hug you? No. Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows and looked at him innocently, I'm very obedient. Otherwise, how could she appear here? She would have run away. How could she let this man catch her? Yi Qianxian looked at her sitting on his body with a dark face. How could this be called obedient? Who on earth hurt you? He frowned and said, and get off me. Oh. Luo Qingtong looked at him. Suddenly she bent down and bit his lips. Psst. Chapter 592. In the dimly lit room, the curtains fluttered, and the bed was carved with flowers. The tall man was pressed down on the bed by the petite girl. Their surroundings were filled with an ambiguous atmosphere. Luo Qingtong's hair fell from the top of her head, covering the surrounding space with a swoosh. It blocked her movements of leaning over to kiss the man. In the floating fragrance, only their breaths were intertwined. Rising and falling, the floating colors glowed, and the dark colors gave off a fragrance. After the kiss, Luo Qingtong licked her lips and got up. Her clear eyes, which were misty with blood mist, had now turned blood red. It made her look like a demon that appeared in the dark night and specialized in sucking people's essence. She was beautiful and alluring, and her beauty could topple cities. Luo Qingtong's eyes were filled with the color of spring, and her cheeks were crimson. Her eyes sparkled as she stared at the man breathing heavily beneath her. She stuck out her tongue and licked her lips. The smile on her face was indescribably evil and wanton. Lord, the taste is not bad. Looking at her movements, Yi Qianxian's gaze was dangerous. Every inch of his gaze was filled with aggression. His entire body was burning hot, and his breathing was unbearably heavy. This woman, she was the one who seduced him. Then don't blame him for not being able to control himself. However, just as Yi Qianxian was about to move, Luo Qingtong's body softly fell onto him. The girl's breathing was steady and her face was sweet. She had actually fallen asleep on top of him. Luo Qingtong was really too tired. She was forcefully pulled out of her sleep by Yi Qianxian and had a round of confrontation with him. Now she was completely exhausted. Do whatever you want. She didn't believe that this man could do anything to her in this state. With this thought in mind, Luo Qingtong directly relaxed her mind and collapsed on Yi Qianxian's body. The man froze. This woman. She actually fell asleep just like that? After seducing him like this? Yi Qianxian's body was boiling with anger. The veins on his forehead were bursting. This woman was born to be his nemesis. Yi Qianren gritted his teeth as he thought. His face darkened as he looked at the sweet sleeping face of the young girl lying on top of him. In the end, he suppressed the boiling anger in his body. I'll let you off this time. Sooner or later, I'll make you pay me back with interest. As he said this, he carefully wrapped his arms around the girl's waist and adjusted his position so that she could sleep more comfortably in his arms. He even channeled his own aura into Luo Qingtong's body, nourishing and protecting her damaged meridians. This woman really doesn't know how to cherish herself. Yi Qianxian snorted coldly. Then he hugged the girl and fell asleep as well. When Luo Qingtong woke up, it was already early the next morning. Yi Qianxian was nowhere to be seen. She had no idea where he had gone. Luo Qingtong heaved a sigh of relief and then busied herself. After the imperial family of Tianyu was destroyed, there were still many things to deal with in the Luo family. Now that old Master Luo was missing, these things fell on Luo Qingtong's shoulders. At the thought of old Master Luo's disappearance, Luo Qingtong's eyes turned cold. Otherwise, she wouldn't have destroyed the imperial family of Tianyu so quickly. She had planned to wait until her meridians were in better condition before going. But in the end, she couldn't resist. But after checking her body, Luo Qingtong found that her meridians were much better. It seemed that someone had used his power to nourish her body. Was it Yi Qianxian? Thinking of the man who appeared in her room last night, Luo Qingtong's heart warmed slightly. At this moment, Yi Qianxian was on the Atlas flying boat, looking at the person in front of him coldly. Chapter 593. What's wrong? Can't I come? Elder Yu, who had rushed over from the main city of the Black region, stroked his beard and glared at him, his face covered in dust. You little Yi, the child is already 3 months old and you didn't even mention it. Quick, take me to see your precious little wife. While we're at it, let's go see that child. Yuelao rubbed his palms together. This was Ye's first child. He didn't know if the child had inherited his heaven-defying constitution. If he did, it would be another peerless genius. How could he miss it? Child? Yi Qianxian raised his eyebrows. What child? As soon as he said this, Bei Qing and Feng Yu, who were standing behind him, lowered their heads. It was all their fault. Previously, when he heard that the evil doctor was pregnant, He was so happy that he immediately sent the news back to the main city of the Black region and told Elder Yu that he wanted him to come over and see if there was anything wrong with the little master, who knew that this was a plot by the imperial family of Tianyu against the Luo family. When they found out the truth, their faces turned green. They wanted to send another message back to explain that it was a misunderstanding, but they were sent to protect the evil doctor and forgot about it. Only when they saw Yuelao, who had rushed over from the Black Field, did they realize that things had gone wrong. After clarifying that it was a misunderstanding between the two of them, and that there was no such child at all, the excitement on Elder Yu's face immediately disappeared. "You two idiots! How could you make such a mistake?" He stomped his feet on the Atlas flying boat. Seeing his actions, Yi Qianxian frowned. He looked at Yuelao and suddenly asked, "Did you send the news back?" As soon as he said this, Yuelao's stomping figure froze. "Ha ha!" Elder Yu laughed dryly as he looked at Yi Qianren. "That actually, Yi, I get excited easily when I hear good news. When I get excited, it was easy to make mistakes. So." Yi Qianxian looked at him coldly. "You did send the news back." Cough cough. "Actually, I just told the Heavenly Empress." Yuelao looked at him guiltily. "Of course it's very likely that other people also know." Heavens! How did he know that the news sent back by Bei Qing and Feng Yu was fake? These two little bastards had really screwed him over miserably. Yuelao tugged at his beard, frowning. He originally wanted to help Yi Qianxian show off and make the Heavenly Empress happy. Now that he made such a big mistake, the Heavenly Empress sighed. God knows he only did it out of kindness. Yi Qianren looked at him with a cold face. Then he flicked his sleeves and ordered coldly, "Seal off all news here immediately. Also, send someone to keep a close watch on that side. If there are any unusual movements, inform me immediately. The Heavenly Empress, the Heavenly Empress." For so many years, Yi Qianren had never thought of fighting for those things. He didn't care about those things. But if those people touched Luo Qingtong because of this, the coldness in Yi Qianxian's eyes was so cold that it seemed to flow. That woman was now his one and only reverse scale that couldn't be touched. Chapter 594. It was the scene of Prince Da's explosion. It was obvious that a phoenix tattoo appeared on Elder Luo's forehead as he faced the danger of self-detonation. The golden phoenix flew out of Old Man Luo's body and circled around him. In an instant, the latter's figure disappeared from the spot. Where did this flying phoenix come from? Luo Qingtong guessed that this phoenix must have something to do with Master Luo's disappearance. Its sudden appearance was not a coincidence. It was because old Master Luo was in danger that the flying phoenix suddenly appeared and took him away. But that phoenix was obviously not a contract beast. What was it? Luo Qingtong frowned as she looked at the portrait in her hand. She drew two of the same portrait and gave the other one to the people of the Black Field to investigate. Presumably there would be results soon. Luo Qingtong let out a long breath. Since the flying phoenix was here to save the old master, the place it was sending him to should be safe. However, Luo Qingtong could not be at ease until she found Master Luo's whereabouts. He was her first relative in this strange world. Master Luo's position in Luo Qingtong's heart was irreplaceable. Just like the old beggar who picked up Luo Qingtong in the 24th century and raised her. Luo Qingtong's feelings for Master Luo were very special. Seeing that she was willing to restrain the evil in her bones for Master Luo, she knew how important Master Luo was. Just as Luo Qingtong was about to put away the painting, a voice suddenly sounded. Isn't this the unique mark of the old woman of the Great Chu sacred dynasty? Little girl, why do you have it? Luo Qingtong turned her head and saw Elder Yu stroking his beard as he walked in from outside. Haha, little girl, don't be afraid. I'm from the Black Field and I'm Ye's personal alchemist. You know what's wrong with his body, right? I'm the one in charge of the treatment. Seeing Luo Qingtong's face full of vigilance, Yuelao coughed lightly and said with a chuckle. He had taken advantage of Yi Qianxian's absence to come over. The latter was busy dealing with the mess he had made. Elder Yu was also a little guilty, so he quietly came to see Luo Qingtong. Otherwise, if Yi Qianxian were to find out, he would definitely not allow him to come and watch. But she really wasn't pregnant. Yuelao looked at Luo Qingtong's belly with regret. Looking at her face, he knew that Luo Qingtong was still a virgin. Little brat Yi was really too useless. He had been chasing her for so long. This was the result. She had thought that he had eaten all of them, so he was in a hurry to find them. A dignified underworld venerable was so useless. Could he be blamed for passing on the wrong information? Elder Yu muttered in his heart. Luo Qingtong didn't know what he was thinking, but focused on what he had said before. You're from the Black Field? You know the origin of this flying phoenix mark? She looked at Elder Yu with bright eyes. Yes. This flying phoenix mark came from someone in the royal family of the Great Chu sacred dynasty. This is her unique mark. Very few people outside know about it. How do you have her mark pattern? Elder Yu looked at the picture scroll in her hand. He was not surprised by this mark, but with Luo Qingtong's identity, it was reasonable to say that she could not come into contact with that person of the Great Chu sacred dynasty. How could she know the other party's unique mark? One had to know that the identity of that person was really not ordinary. Although he did not pay attention to it to others, it was very noble. How could such a person be related to the Luo family? Chapter 595. The Royal Family of the Chu Sacred Dynasty? Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes. She had encountered a lot of strange things in the past few days. First, there was Princess Feng Yuan of the Great Yong Sacred Dynasty who came to find trouble with her. Now, there was someone from the royal family of the Chu Sacred Dynasty who took her grandfather away. How did these people of noble status come into contact with the Luo family one after another? Princess Feng Yuan aside, after all, she was attracted by Yuanma. But what was going on with this person from the royal family of the Chu Sacred Dynasty? She had never heard grandfather Luo mention such a person. Luo Qingtong frowned. Who is that person? Please tell me. Luo Qingtong looked at Elder Yu. The latter smiled and rubbed his hands. He looked at Luo Qingtong and was about to speak. Behind him, a cold voice suddenly sounded. That is Empress Dowager Yan Shi of the Great Chu. As they spoke, Yi Chenxian came in with a cold face. Cough cough. Boy Yi, you're back so quickly. Elder Yu coughed and looked at the sky. The people of the Black Field behind Yi Chenxian all looked at him speechlessly. Why was the High Lord so busy? It was all this old man's fault. Why did he send the news back? He didn't know if they would send people over, and he didn't know what they would do. Master was so busy to protect the evil doctor. Elder Yu took the opportunity to secretly come to see the evil doctor. Master was busy halfway, but he rushed over when he heard the news. This old man was just adding to the chaos. I thought you knew? Yi Chenxian looked at him coldly with a warning. Don't say anything to this woman. He didn't want this woman to know about what happened over there. It would be too much of a burden for her. Yi Chenxian found Luo Qingtong. This woman ran like a rabbit, but when it came to love, she was like a snail. Yi Chenxian did not want her to shrink back into her shell again. Cough cough. Yi Chenxian's words choked Elder Yu quite a bit. Other than nodding his head, how could he dare to say anything else? Brat Yi was still in a fit of anger. What if he was sent back to the Medicine God Valley sect? Thinking of those people who were still persistently looking for him, Elder Yu instantly quivered and immediately pounded his head like garlic. Don't worry. He wouldn't say a single extra word about what happened over there. Seeing his actions, Yi Chenxian snorted coldly. Then he stared at Luo Qingtong. That flying phoenix mark is the unique mark of the Great Chu's Empress Dowager Yan Shi. Very few people outside know about this. This noble one used the information network of the 36 Dao palaces in the Black Field to investigate. That person might have some sort of relationship with your grandfather. 40 years ago, Empress Dowager Yanshi of Great Chu met with danger outside. She was saved by the sacred emperor of Great Chu and entered the palace. She was not a member of the sacred emperor of Great Chu. And that flying phoenix mark appeared on your grandfather's body. It means that they are connected in life and death. Their lives and souls are connected. Because of this, when Elder Luo was in danger, that flying phoenix quickly flew out and teleported him away. Yi Chenxian had felt the spatial fluctuations before and wanted to tell Luo Qingtong. But this woman left in a hurry and didn't have time to tell her. Chapter 596. Yes. Luo Qingtong nodded. Yi Chenxian also said so, then it was not wrong. But Empress Dowager Yanshi of Great Chu. His status was not just any ordinary noble. It was no wonder that the old man had such a strange expression on his face. However, this old man was not an ordinary person since he could recognize the unique mark of Empress Dowager Yanshi of Great Chu. Luo Qingtong thought that he was Yi Chenxian's exclusive alchemist and immediately raised her eyebrows. He was the one who treated Yi Chenxian's meridians these years? Then he must be very familiar with the condition of his meridians? Thinking of this, Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows and looked at Elder Yu. This old man came from afar. Why don't you stay and have a cup of tea? I also have something to ask the old man. Okay. Haha, I also happen to have something to discuss with a little girl like you. Elder Yu chuckled. He was afraid that Yi Qianming would call him away. Now that this little girl asked him to stay, that brat would not say anything, right? Thinking of this, he glanced at Yi Qianming proudly. The latter was too lazy to pay attention to him. He still had to deal with the things over there as long as Elder Yu did not talk nonsense about it. As for why Luo Qingtong was looking for Elder Yu, Yi Qianming had already thought of it. This woman was looking for his injuries, right? Thinking that this woman was thinking about him, Yi Qianming's mood was indescribably good. His gaze towards Elder Yu softened a lot. Wait for me to come back and serve you in bed tonight. Looking at Luo Qingtong, Yi Qianming transmitted a message to her with a faint expression. Plop. Luo Qingtong turned around and was about to leave with Elder Yu. Hearing this, she slipped and almost fell to the ground. Serve him in bed. Why did this man suddenly say such a sentence? Luo Qingtong's lips twitched. She did not know why, but she suddenly had a very bad premonition. Serve him in bed. It seemed to be what she and little Mingzun had said before. Could this man have little Nether Venerable's memories? Thinking of this, Luo Qingtong suddenly felt her face turn red. Oh my god. After all, she had done many things to little Nether Venerable. She must have made a lot of sauce for the little guy. So, even Yi Qianxian knew about it? Luo Qingtong's face turned green. Seeing the expression on her face, Yi Qianxian's lips curled into a smile. The face hidden under the dark golden mask was indescribably handsome. He chuckled and left. Before he left, he glanced at Luo Qingtong meaningfully. This morning, Yi Qianxian had already absorbed the wisp of soul flame in the 9 Nether Phoenix ring. Although he had lost a lot of power, that wisp of soul did not dissipate and did not damage his foundation. After that wisp of soul came back, he knew everything that Luo Qingtong had done to him. This woman had indeed coveted him for a long time. Otherwise, why would she be unable to control her feelings for that wisp of soul? Serve him in bed? He would naturally satisfy her request. Luo Qingtong's lips twitched as she watched Yi Qianxian leave. She only felt that her reputation was ruined. Everything was ruined. T. Who could tell her why Yi Qianxian also had the memories of the wisp of soul? When she imprisoned little Nether Venerable, didn't she cut off the connection between them? Oh my god. Luo Qingtong covered her face and only felt a burst of pain in her stomach and teeth. Chapter 597. At the same time in the imperial palace of Chu. In the magnificent palace, Elder Luo stood in the middle of the main hall with a nervous look on his face. He didn't know where he was. What was this place? Why was he in such a place when he woke up? Master Luo looked at the furnishings in the palace and felt that there was no place that wasn't luxurious and noble. The things in the hall were treasures that the Tianyu Empire had collected for thousands of years. After Luo Qingtong left, she ordered the people in the Evil Valley to protect the Luo family. She also told Master Luo about the treasures in the Evil Valley. She told him to equip the Luo family's disciples and the Luo family's iron army whenever he needed it. The Luo family was the most important. At that time Master Luo was shocked. He didn't know that the treasures of the Tianyu Imperial Palace were stolen by Luo Qingtong. At that time, the matter was so big that he didn't know it was his precious granddaughter who did it. But now, in this palace, even a tile inlaid on the ground was more precious than the treasures of the Tianyu Empire. Where was this? Master Luo was at a loss. He remembered that when he was in the Luo family, Prince De suddenly appeared with a ferocious face and attacked him crazily against the array formation in the Luo family. In the end, when he saw Luo Qingtong enter, he directly self-destructed. Master Luo didn't even have time to ask his precious granddaughter who the man who appeared in her room was. When he opened his eyes again, he was here. Is anyone here? He tried to ask, wanting to leave here. However, he had only taken a step forward when the curtains in front of him were suddenly pulled open, revealing a graceful figure. Grandpa Luo was stunned when he saw the figure appear. He looked at the graceful and luxurious figure in front of him. She wore a pure white mink fur cloak and a beautiful embroidered dress. The woman who appeared in front of him was gorgeous, graceful and noble, with a fierce and heroic aura around her. Her face was like a spring flower, and her beautiful eyes were slightly raised, looking at him coldly. Luotong, I didn't expect you to have aged to this extent after not seeing you for so many years. A slightly mocking voice sounded. The woman who was lazily leaning on the chaise lounge got up and looked at him. The light in her eyes was very complicated. The woman wore a phoenix ring on her finger. The phoenix pattern on the ring was exactly the same as the one Luo Qingtong saw on Luo Luo's forehead. Empress Dowager Yanxi of the Great Chu. If Luo Qingtong were here, she would definitely be very surprised. The old woman that elder you spoke of, Empress Dowager Yanxi of the Great Chu Sacred Dynasty, was actually such a young and beautiful woman. After advancing to the martial emperor realm, a martial artist's strength would enter the union of heaven and man stage and they would be able to retain their appearance at that time. In other words, one's appearance would be fixed at the age of one's breakthrough to martial emperor. The aura of this Empress Dowager Yanxi of the Great Chu Dynasty was clearly not at the level of a martial emperor. In other words, her appearance had been fixed decades ago. She looked exactly the same as she did a few decades ago. Grandfather Luo was stunned. He didn't expect to meet the woman that he had been dreaming of for so many years here. The other party's appearance hadn't changed at all, making Grandfather Luo feel like he was in a trance. He was already dead and he was in the underworld so he could see such a scene. Chapter 598. Shi'er? Is it really you? Old Master Luo's voice trembled as he took a step forward. He wanted to touch the woman in front of him, but a figure suddenly appeared in front of him and blocked him. How dare you? How dare you be disrespectful to the Empress Dowager? The person blocking Old Master Luo was naturally the personal servant of Empress Dowager Yanxi. Empress Dowager? Old Master Luo's expression was dazed. At this time he realized that in addition to Yanxi herself, there were several other servant girls guarding by the side. The auras of these people were surging and vast. When the aura around them was activated, it faintly caused the surrounding spiritual energy to fluctuate as well. Their cultivation was clearly above the martial emperor level. Empress Dowager? Old Master Luo's voice murmured. He looked at Empress Dowager Yanxi with a blank expression. You didn't die all these years? Yes. Looking at the expression on his face, the light in Yanxi's eyes became more complicated, then suddenly became cold. I didn't die. Luo Tong, thank you for fulfilling the misunderstanding back then. If not for this, how could I have today's fortune? I am now the Empress Dowager Yanxi of the Great Chu Sacred Dynasty. Pay attention to your identity, the name Shi'er is not something you can call. Listening to her merciless words, Grandfather Luo's face turned ghastly pale. He thought of what happened back then. He left home when he was young and went out to train. He met and fell in love with Yanxi, but then he was schemed against and was surrounded by a beast tied deep in the mountains. When he fought his way out of the encirclement covered in blood, he knew that something had happened to Yanxi. She was slandered for having an affair with someone else and was chased by his brothers for thousands of miles. Because he didn't appear from beginning to end, Yanxi thought that he believed the slander. After more than 10 days she took the child and jumped off the cliff. When Old Master Luo rushed over, he saw the red horn disappear in front of him. He didn't even see her for the last time. He still remembered what Yanxi shouted to the heavens at that time, saying that she would never forgive him in this life. At that time he and Yanxi already had a child, Luo Qingtong's father, his legitimate son. But Yanxi was slandered for having an affair with someone else, and the child was also slandered as a bastard. In the process of being chased he was also slashed several times. Old Master Luo had desperately jumped down at that time, but he didn't find Yanxi, only the child hanging on a tree branch. The latter's aura of Luo Qingtong was weak, his face purple from the cold and the snow, and there were injuries on his body. If he didn't arrive in time he definitely wouldn't be saved. Elder Luo returned with a broken heart. After investigating everything, he found out that it was all part of his so-called brother's plan. Luo Qingtong, Luo Tong, O Qingtong because the of Luo liked, his of his Luo Luo Qingtong, Luo, of the Luo. To kill. Of Luo. But even so his lover couldn't come back. Old Master Luo regretted it for the rest of his life. If it wasn't for his mistake and gullibility with Yanxi's strength, nothing would have happened. But his so-called brother stole his personal keepsake and threw it in front of Yanxi, saying that he had cut off all ties with her and would never see her and that bastard again. Chapter 599. Every time he thought of this, Master Luo's heart was filled with unspeakable pain and regret. After that, he brought the child back to the Luo family and never left Dongli again. He devoted himself to developing the Luo family. From the beginning to the end, he only had Luo Qingtong's father as his legitimate son. He never married again. Luo Lauer and the others were actually the orphans of the generals who died fighting for the Luo family. Old Master Luo brought these children back and passed them off as his own to stop the elders of the Luo family from asking him to marry and have children. Otherwise, why would there be so many concubines in the huge marquis residence but not even a shadow of a concubine? Everyone thought that it was because Master Luo did not want the concubines to affect the position of the eldest son of the Luo family, so he deliberately did not take in concubines and only had children outside. But they did not know that the truth was like this. That was why Master Luo was so angry when Luo Xining coveted the inheritance of the Luo family and assassinated Luo Qingtong. Other than the fact that Luo Xining had a shady background, it was also because Luo Qingtong was the only successor of the Luo family. Only she had the blood of the Luo family. I'm sorry? Master Luo's mouth was full of bitterness. He did not expect that Yin Shi was not dead and had become the Empress Dowager of the Chu sacred dynasty. She must have hated him all these years, right? That was why she had never looked for him. After all, he did almost kill her and the child back then. Don't say sorry. I don't want to hear it. Luo Tong, do you think you can repay what you owe me with just an apology? Yin Shi, who had been looking at him with an indifferent expression all this while, suddenly became emotional after hearing his apology. If this man had not refused to believe her, how could she have lost her child? Yin Shi still remembered her despair back then. She was forced to the edge of the cliff and had been waiting for him to appear, waiting for him to give her a chance to explain. She did not betray him. But he did not appear from the beginning to the end. The funny thing was that she had not forgotten him until now, but he had already married and had children. The Luo family was prosperous and there were many legitimate sons and concubines. They had completely forgotten about her. Yen Shi thought of everything she saw after she was rescued and found Dong Li, love and hate intertwined in her heart. She swore that she would never see this man again, and she had done well all these years. But why did this man appear in front of her? Yen Shi was agitated. She turned around and was about to leave. If she hadn't sensed the activation of the life and death interdependence curse and knew that his life was in danger, she wouldn't have appeared here. This man didn't believe her back then and allowed those people to slander her, but she still couldn't forget him. Yen Shi hated herself for being like this. Looking at her back as she left, Elder Luo was also dispirited. Suddenly, he seemed to have thought of something and hurriedly cried out, You can do whatever you want to me, but can you help me send a message to the Luo family and tell them that I'm fine? Elder Luo didn't know how he ended up here. But presumably Luo Qingtong and the others didn't know about it. He didn't want Luo Qingtong to worry about him, and he didn't want Luo Qingtong and Yen Shi to go against each other. He stayed here of his own accord. No matter what Yen Shi did to him, he would not complain. Luo Tong, you have no room to bargain with me. It's enough that I saved your life. As for anything else, don't even think about it. Also, from tomorrow onwards, you will pretend to be a eunuch and follow me. Chapter 600. Yen Shi said coldly and went straight out of the palace. No, Shita. Old Master Luo was anxious. During this period of time, he had already understood his precious granddaughter's ability very well. If the latter wanted to find him, she would definitely be able to. At that time, the two sides would inevitably meet. He didn't want anything to happen to the two of them, so he said that. He called out anxiously, but Yen Shi had already left, leaving old Master Luo alone there to worry. Eastern border country Luo family. Luo Qingtong and Elder Yu were drinking tea while discussing Yi Qianxian's meridians. Luo Qingtong finally knew why the situation of Yi Qianxian's meridians was so strange. Heavenly meridian body? Yes. Elder Yu took a sip of tea, put down the teacup in his hand and nodded. Heavenly meridian body. Born with meridians connected and extraordinary strength. Every breath you take is the gathering of spiritual energy. Yi Brat was born with his own strength, directly at the realm of unity of heaven and man. After that, his strength soared and no one knows what level his strength has reached now. This brat was born to make people jealous. Using the word monster is not enough to describe his strength. Elder Yu sighed. You don't know how shocked I was when I first saw him. A child less than 10 years old, but his strength was already at the peak of the world and no one could compare. However, at this point he shook his head and said, being too outstanding will definitely cause the jealousy of the heavens. What's more, with his heavenly meridian body, there are no bottlenecks in cultivation. Such a heaven-defying body, I'm afraid even the heavens will fear it and it will not tolerate it. So, there's a problem with his meridians? Luo Qingtong said. Yes. Elder Yu nodded. A heavenly meridian body will definitely not live past 28 years old. he said in a low voice. This is recorded in the ancient records. It is said that such a physique is hard to come by in tens of thousands of years. Each one of them is amazing, enough to stand shoulder to shoulder with the heavens, but they all fell early. Yi Brat's meridians had a problem when he was 20 years old. The originally strong meridians began to become weak, thinner than paper. As his strength increases, his meridians will become weaker and weaker. Speaking up to hear, Elder Yuehan let out a long sigh and said, "Don't look at how this brat Ye's strength seems to be very formidable right now. But in reality he's only unleashed less than 30% of his strength. The terror of the heavenly vein body is beyond the imagination of ordinary people. I can only tell you that when I saw him more than 10 years ago, he already had his current strength. As for the heavenly vein body, it's out of his control. By absorbing and gathering spiritual energy at every moment, his strength is increasing almost every moment. And with this growth, his meridians will be unable to bear the burden. The stronger he is, the harder it will be for his meridians to bear. So in these past years, that little night boy has rarely used his strength. He has even set the scope of his activities within the true Spill continent, and no longer." As Elder Yuelao spoke to hear, he suddenly paused. That was close, that was close. He almost let it slip. Anyway, you don't know how famous he was in the past. This Blackfield's title of Underworld Venerable is actually somewhat insulting to him. Elder Yu curled his lips as he said this, then shook his head and sighed. What a pity. I've tried my best to find a way to cure the drawbacks of his heavenly vein body, but in these past few years the results have been minimal. It can't even compare to what you casually torment him. As he spoke to hear, he suddenly asked Luo Qingtong with great interest, "Girl, tell me, how did you treat him? His current meridians are a bit stronger than before." Chapter 601. This was also one of the reasons why Yuelao came to find Luo Qingtong so anxiously. Otherwise, even if he knew that Yi Qianxian had a child, he wouldn't be so travel-worn, rushing over almost the next day. It was because Luo Qingtong had been found. Yuelao had always been thinking about how she treated Yi Qianxian's meridians. That's how it was treated. Luo Qingtong blinked her eyes, then thought about it and revealed a little of her ability. I can feel where the problem is with the meridians in his body, and then I helped him connect them. However, Luo Qingtong still hid one thing, and that was, when her aura entered Yi Qianxian's body to help him repair his meridians, she could actually drive and absorb his strength. She didn't know if the improvement of Yi Qianxian's meridians had anything to do with this. Her aura was extremely beneficial to the repair of his meridians. It could improve the strength of his meridians, and his strength could be directly absorbed and borrowed by her. Luo Qingtong thought so, and suddenly felt that she should find time to confirm this with Yi Qianxian. If this was really the case, she was afraid that this body of hers was hiding other secrets. Hearing Luo Qingtong's words, Yuelao frowned. Being able to feel the meridians in other people's bodies? This was a relatively rare ability. However, Yuelao had come into contact with many alchemists, and there were many who had various abilities. Luo Qingtong's ability wasn't particularly unique. Could it be that he was just wrong? This girl was just doing it by accident? Thinking so, Yuelao shook his head and sighed. AI, this heavenly vein physique is really tormenting. If it really can't be cured, the Yi brat only has 3 years of life left. No wonder the people over there are so impatient. Just as he was about to say that, he suddenly covered his mouth. Oh my God. A slip of the tongue. A bloody light flashed in Luo Qingtong's eyes. Over there? Yi Qianxian had other identities besides the Blackfield's Mingzun? Luo Qingtong's eyes drooped slightly, remembering this matter in her heart, but she didn't show it on her face. Seeing that she didn't seem to notice, Yuelao breathed a sigh of relief and hurriedly changed the topic. Luo Qingtong told him more about the heavenly vein body and the records of the heavenly vein body in the ancient records. Then she left thoughtfully. Until evening, Luo Qingtong was still thinking about Yi Qianxian's heavenly vein physique. This was the first time she heard of Yi Qianya's special situation. The heavenly vein physique was really the heavens. Even the heavens were jealous of Yi Qianren's unique advantages. This man was really a true God's favored son. Any peerless genius would be overshadowed by him. AI, the heavenly vein physique, no wonder I always felt that man was dangerous. So it was because of this. Unfortunately, he won't live past 28 years old, Little Pig said beside her. He won't die. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes. She wouldn't let that man die. Hey, you don't really think you can cure the hidden danger in his body, right? Little Pig looked at her with a speechless face. I usually only believe you. But this time it's really different. The heavenly vain physique is the heavens trying to kill him. Even gods and demons can't do anything about it. You still don't know what the heavens mean, but I can tell you that unless you have the power to split the heavens and earth and create all things, it's impossible to reverse his fate. Then I'll reverse it. The heavens. Luo Qingtong's eyes were cold. She never believed in fate. Chapter 602. Yi Qianxian stood outside the door and quietly listened to the conversation between Luo Qingtong and Little Pig. He arrived at the door when Little Pig spoke. When he heard Luo Qingtong's words, his breathing stopped for a moment. In the next second, his heart started to beat violently. Then I will defy the heavens. The young girl's voice was resolute and decisive. When it fell into his ears, it was like the most beautiful sound of nature in the world. Thump, thump, thump. Yi Qianxian pressed his chest. He could feel his heart beating so violently that it felt like it was going to jump out of his chest. His power could cover the sky and he could move unhindered in the world. No one had ever said such words to him like this woman. She was obviously overestimating herself, but she made him clamor and unable to control himself. This woman wants to protect me. She wants to protect me? Yi Qianxian looked at Luo Qingtong with a deep gaze. The intense light in his eyes seemed to penetrate deep into his soul. His gaze was fixed on Luo Qingtong's body. It was as if he wanted to carve her into his heart, eyes, and soul. Swish. His figure suddenly appeared in front of Luo Qingtong. The girl and Pig who were chatting instantly jumped in fright. Oh my God! This man is here. When Luo Qingtong saw Yi Qianxian's figure appear, she immediately recalled what he said during the day about coming back to serve her in bed at night. Her scalp instantly went numb. At this moment, swish. Yi Qianxian suddenly flicked his sleeve. Little Pig was instantly slapped away. Ah! Bang! 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 All the doors and windows in the room were closed. Luo Qingtong stared blankly at this scene. It can't be, right? Is this man for real? Luo Qingtong subconsciously wanted to escape. However, Yi Qianxian was faster than her. Swish. Yi Qianxian waved his other sleeve, and in an instant, a burst of invisible energy wrapped around her body, dragging her into Yi Qianxian's embrace. Don't move. Yi Qianxian's voice was hoarse when he felt the girl struggling in his arms. Let me hug you. I won't touch you. As soon as he said this, Luo Qingtong fell silent. What's wrong with you? Luo Qingtong couldn't help but ask when she felt that his mood seemed to be fluctuating wildly. This man seemed to have never lost control like this before. Yi Qianxian did not say anything. He only tightened his arms around Luo Qingtong. Just when Luo Qingtong thought he wouldn't answer and was about to be her pillow, the man's voice suddenly sounded. Luo Qi. He called out to her, then paused for a moment before saying word by word, "This sovereign likes you." Luo Qingtong was a little stunned. Her cherry lips parted slightly as she stared blankly at the man in front of her. For a moment she couldn't come back to her senses. Is this man confessing to me? Before she could react, Yi Qianxian's voice continued to ring out. This sovereign allows you and me to share honor and glory and live and die together. From now on, anyone who insults you is insulting me. Anyone who hurts you is hurting me. This sovereign allows you to be spoiled, allow you to be bold, allow you to not put this sovereign in your eyes. Allow you to be unbridled and arrogant. As Yi Qianxian spoke, the light in his eyes was fixed on her as he said this word by word. Luo Qingtong, this sovereign allows you to control everything about me. This sovereign likes you. Luo Qingtong stared blankly at Yi Qianxian. The latter's gaze was so serious as if she was his whole world. Chapter 603. She pushed him away and ran away. That's right, she ran away. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. Her speed instantly became faster than a rabbit. She activated her eye technique to the extreme and ran out of the room in an instant. Bam bam bam. Luo Qingtong felt her heart pounding violently along the way. The man's words echoed clearly in her mind. Coupled with his incomparably serious expression, she was at a loss of what to do. This feeling was so strange. Luo Qingtong felt that she had lived for more than 20 years in her previous life and this life, but she had never felt so strange. Not only was her face burning, but she also felt like her soul was out of control. Luo Qingtong covered her face and ran out of the Luo residence. Little Pig was stunned when he saw her. Just as he was about to raise his little hoof to stop her, she rushed past him like a whirlwind. Little Pig was flustered by a gust of wind. What was this woman doing? Where did she go in such a hurry? Luo Qingtong buried her head and rushed out of the Luo residence. At this moment, a group of people came over and shouted happily when they saw her. Boss. It was Yuan Little Overlord and his group who had returned to Tianyu Imperial City. The Tianyu Imperial family was destroyed and the Tianyu Empire changed greatly. Except for Su Xiaoxiao who was a commoner, the rest of them including Sima Ju, were all nobles. Now that the Tianyu Empire was in turmoil, they were naturally summoned back. Boss, we were just about to look for you. We didn't expect you to come out. The group was very excited when they saw Luo Qingtong. Little Overlord Yuan said in a loud voice, Boss, did you get the news too? This year's end-of-year exam will be held in advance. We came to find you and go back together. End-of-year exam? Luo Qingtong was stunned. She had almost forgotten about it. There were too many things happening in the Luo family recently. Now that old Master Luo was in trouble, all the blame fell on her. She was so busy that she forgot about the Tianyu Branch Academy. She thought about how the light door was destroyed and how they were trapped in the Kaiyuan mystic realm. If she didn't know the inscription of space, she would have lost her life there. Even so, little Nether Venerable almost dissipated. Thinking of this, Luo Qingtong's eyes turned cold. Are Shi Qingqing and Zhan Haoping doing well? Her voice was cold. Now that they had gotten rid of her, the two of them would have a much more comfortable life. It's more than good. Little Tyrant Yuan said indignantly. I don't know what kind of luck they have, but they actually obtained quite a bit of luck in the Kaiyuan mystic realm. Both of them were taken in as the last disciples of the instructor from the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin. It said that the two of them are going to fight for first place in the Tianyu branch. He had been in seclusion all this time. As for those who were on the genius rankings with them, they also benefited greatly. This time, I'm also eager to fight for the top 10. Little Tyrant Yuan felt depressed as he spoke. These bastards almost got them killed and now they got so many benefits. Especially Shi Qingqing and Zhan Haoping, they were even taken in as the last disciples of the instructor from the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin. Once they got into the top 3 of the end-of-year exam, they would definitely become the Earth-grade students of the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin. *CK This world is not fair at all. People like Shi Qingqing and Zhan Haoping should have nothing. Little Tyrant Yuan was so angry. Sima Ju also had a cold face. His delicate face, which was like an elf's, was full of gloominess and coldness. Chapter 604. Top 10 at the end of the year? The girl's expression is indifferent. They have no chance. If Shi Qingqing's group has a chance to get into the top 10 at the end of the year, she will write her name upside down. The bloody light in Luo Qingtong's eyes flickered. Shi Qingqing's group tricked her in the secret realm of Kaiyuan, and they still want to compete for the top 10 at the end of the year? Luo Qingtong's eyes are cold. You guys come with me. With little Tyrant Yuan and the others diverting her attention, Luo Qingtong's strange feeling from before disappears. She pats her chest, feeling that her heart is not beating so fast. She immediately turns her head and leads little Tyrant Yuan and the others back to the Luo family. At the same time in Luo Qingtong's room, Yi Qianxian is still holding Luo Qingtong in his arms. Looking at his empty arms, the veins on his forehead are throbbing. This woman, he is confessing to her. Why did she run? Are his words so scary? What did he say wrong? Yi Qianxian takes a few deep breaths, unable to control his explosive mood. That woman. Just as he is about to choke with anger from Luo Qingtong's reaction, a figure suddenly flashes in from outside, kneels in front of him and reports, Master, there's movement over there. Yi Qianxian's expression suddenly changes. When Elder Yu's words were passed back, he knew that there would be movement over there, but he didn't expect it to be so fast. The light in his eyes immediately turns cold. Go. Yi Qianxian coldly flicks his sleeve. Yes. Feng Yu, who is kneeling on the ground, gets up. At this moment Yi Qianxian, who has already rushed out, suddenly stops. He turns his head to look at Feng Yu and suddenly says coldly, Didn't you say last time that the woman ran because she didn't know my feelings and I didn't confess? Feng Yu is stunned by his question, then comes back to his senses and quickly nods. Yes. He was pleasantly surprised and quickly asked, Master, did you confess? Did the evil doctor agree to become our mistress? Was her master finally willing to face her feelings? He was overjoyed. If you like someone, you have to say it out loud. Master is always so stuffy in his heart. Even the evil doctor doesn't know. However, just as the joy on Feng Yu's face rose, Yi Qianxian flicked his sleeves and said coldly, After you go back, stay in the spy shop for a full month. No one is allowed to plead for mercy. Agree? That woman heard his confession and ran away faster than a rabbit. It would have been better if he hadn't confessed. With that in mind, Yi Qianxian gritted his teeth and disappeared into thin air. Feng Yu was stunned. In the next second he wailed. "Oh, Master, could it be that you didn't make the right confession? It was impossible for it to be ineffective. Oh my God. A month in the spy shop." Feng Yu's face turned green when he thought about how he had to dress up as a woman and do all those flirtatious actions. "Master, please reduce my sentence. A month is too long. He can't bear it." He thought about how he had just mocked Bei Qing. Now the tables have turned and it's his turn so soon. But Feng Yu can't understand how the method he taught his master didn't work. It should have worked. He chased after Yi Qianxian's figure and left. At the same time, Luo Qingtong is bringing little tyrant Yuan and the others back to the Luo residence. Chapter 605. This venerable will be leaving for a while. Yi Qianxian pressed Luo Qingtong against a corner of the wall and narrowed his eyes. "Cough. Is that so?" Luo Qingtong coughed softly and said, "Have a safe journey? Did this man specially come to say goodbye to her?" Yi Qianxian's face turned cold. He looked at the girl in front of him with a dark expression and spoke in a low voice. "That's all you want to say to this venerable? This woman I'm going to leave. That's all she wants to say to me?" "Ah." Luo Qingtong blinked her eyes and looked at Yi Qianxian. Looking at the expression on her face, Yi Qianren's expression instantly turned into one of rage. "Don't you have anything else to say to this venerable? Have a safe journey? Is she that impatient for me to leave?" Luo Qingtong looked at the dark expression on his face and couldn't think of what this man wanted her to say to him. If it's a confession, then forget it. Thinking of the words Yi Qianxian said to her before, Luo Qingtong felt her face turn hot. Then she thought for a bit and tried to say, "Come back early?" Hearing her words, Yi Qianren snorted coldly. However, the expression on his face softened slightly. "Come back early? Come back. In other words, she will wait for me and won't run away?" Yi Qianren was also worried that this woman would take advantage of his absence and run off to God knows where. Although he found the Luo family, this woman didn't want to see him. Could he use the Luo family to threaten her? If she was really disobedient, he couldn't do anything to her. Yi Qianren's eyes darkened slightly. Looking at the spiral of hair on Luo Qingtong's head, there was joy in his voice. "Be obedient and wait for this venerable." As he said this, he suddenly felt that the 3 words obedient were too demanding for this woman and immediately changed his words. "Just wait for this venerable to come back." As he spoke, he bent down and kissed the young girl's forehead, then said, "Don't worry. When this venerable is not here, you are not allowed to provoke other men. In addition." With a flick of his sleeve, he dispersed the aura of the 9 netherworld phoenix ring on her left ring finger, revealing the clear 9-headed flying phoenix totem on it. The 9 flying phoenixes on top of it intertwined with each other and flew up in a spiral. It looked extremely luxurious and extraordinary. "This ring can mobilize all the forces in the black field. If I'm not around and someone bullies you, use this ring." Yi Qianxian raised his hand and rubbed the 9 phoenix ring. On his left ring finger, there was a ring that was exactly the same as the one on Luo Qingtong's finger, except that it was a ring with 10 flying dragons on it. "In all directions, in all 9 heavens and 10 earths, no one can humiliate you. If anyone dares to touch you, then don't worry about the consequences. This venerable will take care of everything for you." His woman was not to be bullied. He couldn't even bear to touch a single hair on this woman's head, so what right did other people have to teach her a lesson? The cold light in Yi Qianxian's eyes soared, but when he turned to Luo Qingtong, it softened a little. This venerable will not be gone for too long this time. As for the Luo family, this venerable will have the Black Fields people secretly watch over them. You can do whatever you want. When Yi Qianxian had just kidnapped Luo Qingtong, he also saw little tyrant Yuan and the others. Just thinking about it, he knew that Luo Qingtong was probably going to return to Tianyu Branch Academy. Thinking of the memory he obtained from that wisp of soul, that this woman was set up by someone and was almost left behind in the secret realm of Kaiyuan and died, Yi Qianxian's gaze instantly became dangerous. Chapter 606. Luo Qingtong didn't think that Yi Qianxian's departure was a big deal. Anyway, this man would come back. But now, after listening to Yi Qianxian's advice, she suddenly felt a little reluctant to let Yi Qianxian leave. Thinking that this man had been staying at the Luo family for the past few days, and that the Blackfield matter was also handled here, it probably wasn't because of that matter that made him leave. So, it was because of that matter? Luo Qingtong looked at Yi Qianxian and wanted to ask. But this man didn't seem to want her to know about that matter. Moreover, Yi Qianxian's hidden danger hadn't been resolved yet. It was most likely related to that matter. Luo Qingtong didn't want to poke Yi Qianxian's scars. He could only live for 3 years. Luo Qingtong didn't need to think to know how those people in the place where Yi Qianxian lived would think of him. They must think that he was going to die, right? That was why they were so unscrupulous. This man was so amazing and looked down on the world. How could he tolerate other people's contempt and arrogance towards him? Even if those people didn't dare to show it in front of him. But they must have secretly scolded him like that. Thinking of this, Luo Qingtong swallowed back the words that were about to come out of her mouth. At the same time, a surge of anger suddenly rose in her heart. Those people wanted Yi Qianxian to die so badly, but she was going to save him. She would never let this man die. Swoosh. Thinking that Yi Qianxian might want to go back to that side, Luo Qingtong raised her hand and grabbed his wrist. Don't move. She transferred the breath in her body into Yi Qianxian's body. At the same time, the bloody glow in her eyes intensified. She activated her ocular technique and saw the situation in Yi Qianxian's body clearly. The man's body was still the same. The other data were all heaven-defying numbers and a bunch of question marks. Luo Qingtong didn't know how strong he was. However, the number of meridians was pitifully low. Luo Qingtong couldn't help but sigh. The heavens really knew how to scheme against people. Yi Qianxian's heaven-defying physique was incomparably terrifying and almost impossible to deal with. It directly turned Yi Qianxian's meridians into his weakness. The stronger he became, the easier it was for him to die. It was like a huge wooden barrel that could hold an endless amount of water. However, one of the planks was extremely fragile. In that case, the more water there was in the barrel, the greater the pressure. Once it exceeded a certain threshold, the wooden plank would no longer be able to withstand it and would explode. Then, this wooden barrel that could hold the endless water would be completely destroyed. The heavenly Tao didn't even need to do anything extra. It could just watch as Yi Qianren, a person who was enough to threaten it, died silently. But at the same time, if Yi Qianxian could overcome this hurdle and cure the hidden dangers in his body, then he would be able to break free from the shackles of his fate and soar into the sky. Even the heavenly Tao would not be able to do anything to him. Even if it wanted to deal with him, it would have to do it with external forces. However, when that time came, Yi Qianxian might not necessarily be afraid of it. Luo Qingtong's eyes flashed as she thought about it. Swish, swish, swish. The breath in her body quickly swept into Yi Qianxian's body and rapidly circulated. Sensing what she wanted to do, Yi Qianxian's body shook slightly and shook Luo Qingtong's body away. Chapter 607. Yi Qianxian knew that Luo Qingtong wanted to help him heal the injuries of his meridians. After the previous 2 accidents, he already knew that Luo Qingtong's aura had an excellent effect on the recovery of the injuries of his meridians. When others treated him, they could at most heal his broken meridians. But Luo Qingtong was different. When her aura healed his meridians, it could also increase the strength of his meridians. If the strength of a person's meridians was rated at 100, then Yi Qianxian's meridians had already fallen to a pitiful number of 10. But now, under Luo Qingtong's previous treatments, Yi Qianxian's meridians had recovered to about 20. It was enough for him to use a lot of his strength. But this kind of treatment was not only beneficial to him, but also to Luo Qingtong. The power in his body could actually increase Luo Qingtong's strength and help her break through her current realm. This made Yi Qianxian very surprised. But it was also because of this that he couldn't let Luo Qingtong treat him at will. The strength in his body was too strong. A little bit of his power was enough to make Luo Qingtong's strength rise rapidly. But Luo Qingtong didn't have a constitution like his. If her strength rose too quickly without enough time to digest and consolidate it, it would have a great impact on her strength. It was like building a house. If the foundation and each floor of the house didn't use enough sand and soil, it would be too loose. When the tall building was built to a high level, it would easily collapse. Yi Qianxian naturally wouldn't let such a situation happen to Luo Qingtong. This woman would walk side by side with him in the future. How could he cause problems to her strength in the future because of his selfishness? Presumably, Luo Qingtong was also aware of the drawbacks of doing this. Otherwise, with the previous accidents, her strength would have broken through to the Martial King realm long ago. She wouldn't have waited until now to break through and accidentally hurt her meridians. Next time. Yi Qianxian looked at her and said, "I'm leaving." He looked at the empty space in the sky. There the Atlas flying ship, Beijing and the others were ready. Yi Qianxian turned around and was about to leave, but Luo Qingtong grabbed his sleeve. Yi Qianxian, Luo Qingtong made up her mind. She looked at the man and said each word clearly, "I won't let you die." Emichim. Yi Qianxian looked at her and nodded his head. "I believe in you. I believe in you." These 4 words were more important than Mount Tai. When she heard this, she felt as if she had been struck by lightning. The body's physique had the heavenly level physique. She was no more than 28 years old. Never break this curse two's curse. Little Pig even swore that it was impossible for him to do it. He knew so many things about her but he still said that. However, Yi Qianxian believed in her without any hesitation. At this moment, Luo Qingtong's heart trembled violently. Swoosh. Yi Qianxian's figure disappeared from the spot. Looking at the man's disappearing figure, Luo Qingtong took a deep breath and vowed in her heart, "Yi Qianxian, I will definitely cure you." When she thought about how she had injected her aura into Yi Qianxian's meridians, although the man quickly stopped her, the value of his meridians still jumped slightly. A bloody light flashed in Luo Qingtong's eyes. She must improve her strength as soon as possible. Only then could she better cure the hidden damage in Yi Qianxian's meridians. Swoosh. Chapter 608. In the main hall of the Luo family, little Tyrant Yuan and the others were waiting. Halfway through their journey, Luo Qingtong was taken away by Yi Qianxian. Everyone was dumbfounded. Fortunately, everyone in the Luo family was already used to this. Seeing this, someone quickly led them to the main hall. Otherwise, who knew how long they would have to stay there foolishly? Boss. As the group was drinking tea, Luo Qingtong's figure walked in from outside. Little Tyrant Yuan immediately shouted, "Hee hee." He smiled and winked at Luo Qingtong. That was Blackfield's Mingzun, right? To be able to silently appear halfway and take away Luo Qingtong without the latter resisting, Little Tyrant Yuan and the others only had to think to know who it was. To be honest, before they returned to the Luo family with Luo Qingtong, they didn't dare to think that they would one day be able to see Blackfield's Mingzun. Not only that, but that Supreme Blackfield was actually their boss's lover. Oh my god. This world was just like a fantasy. Who would have thought? That Supreme Blackfield, a man that the 4 sacred dynasties couldn't do anything about, a man who could cover the sky with one hand in the true Spill continent, actually loved their boss so much. No wonder Blackfield had been frantically looking for traces of evil Dr. Ghost Eye. At that time, some people thought that the latter had offended Blackfield and the 2 sides had fallen out. The result was that Blackfield's actions of protecting evil Dr. Ghost Eye had slapped them in the face. Now it seemed that it was Mingzun who was looking for their boss. But then again their boss was really too good at hiding. Who would have thought that the young miss of a marquee mansion from a low-level country like Eastern Fence Nation would actually be evil Dr. Ghost Eye, the most popular figure in the entire Blackfield and True Spill continent? They couldn't have imagined it. Boss, you're really too amazing. Little Overlord Yuan gave Luo Qingtong a thumbs up with a rippling face. To be able to take down the Blackfield, Mingzun, as expected of boss. Luo Qingtong looked at him speechlessly. She then realized that Sima Ju, Su Xiaoxiao, Ling Yu and Ling Tianhan all had the same expression on their faces. His lips twitched. Okay, let's get down to business. Luo Qingtong tapped on the table and looked at them. When will the year-end assessment be held? Next month? Little Tyrant Yuan responded quickly. Boss, with your strength, you'll definitely be able to get first place in the year-end assessment. When the time comes, you'll show the entire branch how powerful you are. There's also Shi Qingqing and Zhan Haoping, those 2 disgusting people. They still want to get first place in the year-end assessment. Impossible. Little Overlord Yuan curled his lips as he spoke. Now the entire academy was flattering Shi Qingqing and Zhan Haoping. When they returned to the academy, they said that Shi Qingqing and Zhan Haoping had harmed them in the Yuan opening mystic realm, but the mentors didn't believe them. Or rather, they deliberately didn't believe them. Now Shi Qingqing and Zhan Haoping were the pride of the academy. The latter and the others were counting on them to enter the Empire of Qin's holy court and become Earth-grade students. How could they punish them? What's more, they had no evidence. Thinking of this, Little Tyrant Yuan's heart was depressed. If it weren't for Ling Tianhan and Ling Yu and the academy's people paying more attention to them, they would have been kicked out of the Tianyu branch. Thinking of the mentors telling them not to mention this matter again, otherwise they would be expelled, little tyrant Yuan's heart was filled with anger. Chapter 609. Slap their faces? Luo Qingtong's smile was cold. How could that be enough? She almost got herself killed. If she didn't have the eye technique and learned the inscription of space from Song Qing, she would have died in the mysterious realm of Kaiyuan. Even if that wasn't enough, Yi Qinren's wisp of soul had dissipated because of them, leaving only a little bit of soul fire. She would make sure Qingqing and the others pay one by one. From tomorrow onwards you will follow me for special training. Call Chu Wenhao back from the Tianyu Branch Academy. Luo Qingtong's face was cold. 1 month, right? That was enough for her to train little tyrant Yuan and the others. By then she would lead them and let sure Qingqing and the others know what despair was. Ling Tianhan, come with me. I will heal your right hand. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes and looked at Ling Tianhan. The latter was originally the pride of the Tianyu Branch Academy. If one of his hands wasn't crippled, he wouldn't have lost to Yu Wenma. If that wasn't the case, how could Shi Qingqing and Zhang Haoping have the chance to be so arrogant? Now that he had returned to the top 10 of the genius list with the sword in his left hand, although he was at the bottom, it showed how powerful Ling Tianhan's talent was. If his right hand was in good condition, he could definitely defeat all the students on the genius list. If Shi Qingqing and the others didn't get a powerful opportunity in the mysterious realm of Kaiyuan, they wouldn't be Ling Tianhan's opponent. Since Luo Qingtong wanted to beat Shi Qingqing and the others to the bottom, she wouldn't give them any chance to turn the tables. Top 10 of the year-end exam? Students of the Holy Court of the Empire of Qin? Shi Qingqing and the others wouldn't get any of them. Yes. Little tyrant Yuan and the others were surprised. She didn't expect Luo Qingtong to be serious about what she said. She really wanted to lead them to the top 10 of the year-end exam. Oh my god. If word got out, people would think that they were crazy. Other than Ling Tianhan and Ling Yu, who were considered powerful in the eyes of others, he, Sima Ju, and Su Xiaoxiao were all looked down upon by others. Especially Su Xiaoxiao, who was also an alchemist. Not only that, they had only just entered the Tianyu Branch Academy. Now, Luo Qingtong said that she would lead them to fight for the top 10 in the year-end assessment. If these words were said by someone else, they would definitely think that the other party was crazy. But when it came to Luo Qingtong, they firmly believed it. Boss is mighty. Little tyrant Yuan was so stimulated that he howled. Top 10 in the year-end assessment? If they really succeeded, who knew how many people's jaws would drop? Other than Ling Tianhan, who was considered a repeat student, the rest of them were all freshmen who had just entered the academy this year. If they were able to get into the top 10 of the year-end examination, not only the Tianyu Branch Academy, but the entire the Empire of Qin Academy would be in an uproar. Yuan Little Overlord couldn't wait to see such a scene. Especially those academy instructors who looked down on others and the arrogant Shi Qingqing and the others. Just thinking about it made little tyrant Yuan and the others look forward to seeing how they would react. Ling Tianhan was also overjoyed. He had never thought that there would be a day when his crippled right hand could be cured. One had to know that the person who had secretly plotted against him wanted his right hand to be completely crippled. In this way, the development of Duke Ling's mansion could be stopped. It wasn't that his hand couldn't be cured, but he couldn't afford to hire someone who could cure his hand. Chapter 610. Ling Tianhan looked deeply at the girl who had just stood up. In his heart, Luo Qingtong was like a savior. It was laughable that Yu Wenma had been so arrogant all these years. He thought that his talent was unparalleled, even when compared to the geniuses of the Empire of Qin and the Holy Dynasty. But in the end he was blind and lost his biggest and most precious treasure for no reason. If he knew about Luo Qingtong's ability and identity, what kind of expression would he have in the end? Would he be so regretful that he couldn't control himself? Unfortunately, no matter how regretful he was, he couldn't redeem himself. A peerless phoenix like Luo Qingtong was destined to soar to the sky. She wasn't someone ordinary could have. Yu Wenma once had a chance, but he didn't know how to grasp it. Even if he regretted it in the future, it would be too late. At the same time, in the seclusion room of Tianyu Branch. Rumble. Shi Qingqing sat in the stone room with her eyes closed. The aura around her seemed to be fluctuating. In the next second, there was a rumbling sound that sounded like a huge wave crashing against the ground. In an instant, the aura around her seemed to be pulled and suppressed by something and shattered with a bang. The aura of a martial lord disappeared and turned into the strength of a martial king. An aura that was even more powerful and terrifying than before began to spread out from her body. Haha. Shi Qingqing suddenly opened her eyes. Looking at the tyrannical aura that she had just broken through, Shi Qingqing's expression became abnormally joyful. She stroked the veil on her face. That graceful and elegant face of hers became unusually smug at this moment. Martial King Realm. I didn't expect the opportunity one got in the Kaiyuan Mystery Land to be so powerful. My strength directly broke through from the high-level Martial Lord Realm to the Martial King Realm. Shi Qingqing's smile was charming and proud. Then she suddenly gritted her teeth. Luo Qingtong, it's all thanks to you. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have had such an opportunity. Thinking of what happened in the Kaiyuan Mystery Land, Shi Qingqing gritted her teeth. At that time, Luo Qingtong had injured them with a single slash of her sword. Not long after, they were surrounded by the dead souls. It was also at that time that Shi Qingqing suddenly discovered that she could actually not be attacked by those dead souls, and could even control them, and even absorb their strength to improve herself. She carefully hid herself and pretended to be lucky with Zhang Haoping and the rest to escape the siege of the dead souls. If not for this, their group would have died under the siege of the dead souls at that time. Shi Qingqing's expression was ice cold. Unfortunately, Luo Qingtong, you died too early. If I knew that I would have such good fortune today, I wouldn't have listened to Zhang Haoping and destroyed the light door. I should have let you come back alive and enjoy my hospitality. At that time, Shi Qingqing was afraid of Luo Qingtong's strength. The latter could exterminate a large number of dead souls with a single strike, and could even injure them. She didn't want the other party to take revenge on her, so she agreed to destroy the light door with Zhang Haoping. How could she have known that the fortuitous encounter she had was so powerful? Shi Qingqing looked at the shabby black banner beside her. That black banner was engraved with countless ferocious evil spirits. 100 Ghost Banner. She didn't know what level this black banner was. It was because of it that Shi Qingqing could not be attacked by those dead souls, and could even control and absorb them to improve her strength. Chapter 6:11. The 100 Ghosts banner also gave her a special soul seal. Soul-devouring power. In other words, Shi Qingqing was now equivalent to a soul king. If I knew this black banner was so powerful, I wouldn't have killed Luo Qingtong so early. I should have let her live to be trampled on by me, and let the black banner refine her soul after she dies. By then, her strength would be my strength. Shi Qingqing felt depressed as she thought of this. If that was the case, not only would she be able to get rid of Luo Qingtong, she would also be able to enter the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin. By then, the fifth prince would definitely notice her. And Luo Qingtong was only fit to be her stepping stone, the dust under her feet. It was a pity that she died too early. Otherwise, she would not have let her go so easily. Just as Shi Qingqing was gritting her teeth, Luo Qingtong had already healed Ling Tianhan's right hand. Swish! She raised her hand and summoned a long sword. This was a weapon that she had refined according to Ling Tianhan's condition. Mother-child twin swords. Ling Tianhan's condition was special. His right hand had been crippled, and he had to recultivate his left hand. Now that his right hand had recovered, his swordsmanship had returned. The swordsmanship of his left hand had not fallen behind either. Under such circumstances, if he only used one sword, he would not be able to increase his strength. Two-handed swords was the path he should take. The mother-child twin swords refined by Luo Qingtong, one on the left and one on the right, resonated with each other. Together with Ling Tianhan's condition, they could unleash his full strength. In order to increase Ling Tianhan's strength, Luo Qingtong even taught Ling Tianhan the left and right interfighting technique that she had recreated when she was bored in her previous life. With that combination, Ling Tianhan's two-handed swordsmanship had reached a terrifying level. More importantly, Luo Qingtong told him that if he was compatible with the sword, he could control it with his mind. Taking a person's head from a distance. Controlling the sword with one's mind. Ling Tianhan was stunned when he heard this. This was something that only a Saint Realm expert could do after reaching the level where they could control the surrounding spiritual energy with their mind. Luo Qingtong actually said that this sword could allow him to control it with his mind? Then what level was this sword at? But he clearly didn't feel any terrifying aura coming from the sword. Furthermore, a spiritual weapon of that level was not something that someone of his cultivation level could control. What Ling Tianhan didn't know was that Luo Qingtong had engraved inscriptions on the mother-child twin swords to achieve such an effect. Otherwise, it would be impossible for an ordinary spiritual weapon to be like this sword. After teaching Ling Tianhan the sword and the left and right intercombat technique, Luo Qingtong began to refine Yuan Little Tyrant's spiritual weapon. It couldn't be helped. After all, little tyrant Yuan burst into tears the moment he saw Ling Tianhan's mother-child twin swords. He said that he was the most pitiful out of all of them as he didn't get anything. He immediately hugged Luo Qingtong's thigh and insisted that she help him refine it first. Boss, I'll definitely do my best for you, even to the point of death. You told me to hit Shi Qingqing's chest, but I definitely won't hit her thigh. Boss, refine a spiritual weapon for me too. Little tyrant Yuan hugged her thigh and cried with snot and tears running down his face. Luo Qingtong looked at him speechlessly. A burly man hugging her thigh and crying so miserably. Chapter 6:12. Get out of my way. Luo Qingtong kicked little tyrant Yuan away speechlessly, and then refined a gravity ring for the latter. This was specially customized by Luo Qingtong according to little tyrant Yuan's situation. The latter's petrification soul seal and innate divine strength made him an excellent shield, and it also had the ability to reflect damage. Luo Qingtong naturally had to strengthen him in this aspect. After the gravity ring was activated, with little tyrant Yuan as the center, the surrounding area was all included in the gravity ring. At that time, those who attacked little tyrant Yuan would be caught off guard, and the power of their attacks would be reduced. The stronger the gravity, the weaker the opponent's strength would be. This was a perfect killing weapon for little tyrant Yuan. At the same time, Luo Qingtong also inscribed a human inscription on little tyrant Yuan, increasing his petrification soul seal ability to the point of earth soul seal. This upgrade was completely an upgrade in essence. The petrification soul seal that was originally a trash soul seal, after Luo Qingtong's increase in strength, instantly reached the level of an ordinary soul seal. It greatly increased little tyrant Yuan's strength. As for Sima Ju, Su Xiaoxiao and Ling Yu, Luo Qingtong also refined their own spirit tools for them. Sima Ju obtained one that could increase the power of poison. Su Xiaoxiao obtained a brand new set of refining tools and a comprehensive collection of medicinal liquid synthesis that Luo Qingtong analyzed for her. What medicinal liquid could change, what kind of situation it could be used on, and what kind of person it could be used on, everything was available. Su Xiaoxiao looked, jumped up and gave Luo Qingtong a kiss of love, and then ran off to study it excitedly. Facts proved that even a shy little rabbit would be very bold when it came to what she liked to do. As for Ling Yu, she obtained a purple-colored silk from Luo Qingtong. Looking at the elegant and powerful purple sky silk in her hand, Ling Yu was so happy that she jumped up and down. Ah, Qingtong, I really love you so much. How do you know that I love beauty the most? This purple sky silk can be used as both a shawl and a weapon. As Ling Yu spoke, she draped the heavenly purple silk over her body. She was simply too beautiful. Wearing it made one feel as if one was floating in the air. Who would have thought that such a beautiful shawl was actually a sharp weapon? Ling Yu simply loved this heavenly purple silk to death. Even Si Wenhao also received a weapon and cultivation method from Luo Qingtong, telling him to cultivate well. Everyone was immersed in their training. At the same time, through the Blackfield's intelligence system, Luo Qingtong confirmed that Grandfather Luo was in the Chu Imperial Palace and that everything was fine. Knowing that old Master Luo had become the personal eunuch of Empress Dowager Yanxi of Great Chu, Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows and vaguely guessed something in her heart. Immediately, the corners of her lips curled up into a smile. Great Chu's Empress Dowager Yanxi, fierce and courageous, a woman of iron blood. Ruling the world as a woman. Controlling the Great Chu with one hand. She was not the kind of person who had bad taste. She would not casually dress up as a eunuch to humiliate others. It seemed that her relationship with her grandfather was not simple. Thinking of this, Luo Qingtong suddenly felt completely relieved. She asked the people of the Blackfield to pay attention to Grandfather Luo in secret and not let anything happen to him over there. Then she focused her attention on this side. After the year-end assessment, she would go to the Chu sacred dynasty and see what was going on with her grandfather. Chapter 6:13. Mistress. The man knelt in front of Luo Qingtong and presented her with a package. Mistress, this is something sent from the far west wilderness. It must be delivered to Mistress. The man was from the Blackfield's mansion. Luo Qingtong looked at the package in his hand and raised her eyebrows. Far West Wilderness? Something sent from Su Yu's side? Luo Qingtong thought about it and took the package, then asked, "How is the mansion? Is Yin Yang able to handle it?" Ever since Luo Qingtong's pills became famous, there was an endless stream of people from various forces heading to the Blackfield's mansion. If it weren't for the Blackfield's tyrannical forces and the fact that they were determined to protect Luo Qingtong, her mansion in the Blackfield's mansion would have been taken away and forced to reveal her identity. But even so, those people weren't easy to deal with. After all, they had noble statuses and profound strength. As long as they didn't use force, the Blackfield's mansion couldn't go too far. Everything in the mansion is fine. Steward Yen has handled it well. This time he asked me to report to Mistress that you don't need to worry too much. The man from the Blackfield's mansion replied respectfully. In addition, Mistress, Steward Yen wants to ask if you want to go to the Blackfield's main city of the Empire of Qin to develop your strength? Right now, the Blackfield's mansion in the eastern border country is too small for Mistress. Luo Qingtong's current fame was not what it used to be. The pills she refined were sought after by the various forces of the great holy dynasties. She could expand her influence to the 4 great holy dynasties. The level of the Blackfield's mansion in the eastern border country was too low. And Luo Qingtong nodded. Let Yen Yang handle this matter herself. If you encounter any problems in the main city, feel free to look for me. Luo Qingtong also needed the power of the holy dynasty. She couldn't stay in the Blackfield city of the eastern border country forever. Even though Yi Qianxian had said that she could use his power as she pleased, she still didn't believe him. But Luo Qingtong was used to relying on herself. When it was time to use Yi Qianxian's power, she naturally wouldn't hesitate. But usually she preferred to rely on herself. Yes. The man from the Black Region subsidy nodded. He turned around and was about to leave to report the completion of his mission. At this moment, Luo Qingtong called out to him. Wait. Luo Qingtong threw a token over. This is the Platinum Order of the Blackfield. Take it back to Yen Yang. Under the High Lord, none of the city lords of the Blackfield main cities would dare to be disrespectful. Let Yen Yang take this Platinum Order. If anyone dares to make things difficult for her in the Blackfield main cities, show them this order. Don't let anyone bully her. There were all kinds of forces in the 4 great holy dynasties. In the Blackfield main cities, there were even more forces coming and going. Luo Qingtong naturally wouldn't let her people be bullied. Yen Yang and the others were burdened with her great reputation and had just arrived. Who knew if someone would come to provoke them and look for trouble? After all, not everyone had such good eyesight. There were always those who didn't know what was good for them and wanted to test her tolerance. This Platinum Order was something that Luo Qingtong had asked Yi Qianxian for a Blackfield order so that it would be easier for Yen Yang and the others to do things. The latter had directly asked Bei Qing to give it to them. Originally, Yi Qianxian had thought that Luo Qingtong wanted to use it for herself and was preparing to give it to his High Lord order. After all, only his closest confidants could recognize the 9 Phoenix ring. Chapter 6:14. However, Luo Qingtong had said that she was going to give it to Yen Yang and the others, so Yi Qianxian had asked Bei Qing to give it to them. This token was different from the other platinum tokens. Only Luo Qingtong's designated people could use it, and as long as she didn't want to give it to them, she could take it back at any time. It was Luo Qingtong's exclusive token. Yes. That person from the Blackfield branch received the Blackfield Platinum token with a shocked expression. For a moment he felt as if his palm was boiling hot. It was as if what he was holding in his hand wasn't a platinum token, but a rare treasure. Wasn't this a rare treasure? The Blackfield's Platinum token. Once the Platinum token was taken out, all the city lords of the major cities would welcome it and open all 7 gates. They would enjoy all kinds of privileges and honor in the Blackfield. It was said that even the royal family of the 4 great holy dynasties only had 1 platinum token, and they wouldn't use it easily. On the other hand, an ordinary Saint Realm expert would only be able to obtain a gold token. From this, it could be seen how precious this platinum token was. And his mistress had given one to him with just a raise of her hand. If not for the fact that this person from the Blackfield branch had followed Luo Qingtong for a long time and knew that his mistress's actions were different from ordinary people, he would have been scared out of his wits. However, things weren't any better now. That battle slave expert from the Blackfield branch left as if he was sleepwalking. Luo Qingtong took the package in her hands and returned to her room. She opened the package in her hands and saw a furry figure wrapped in a large cocoon, curled up into a ball. Snowball? Seeing the light ball in the package, Luo Qingtong's heart was filled with indescribable surprise. It was actually a snowball. It was a small divine sky-connecting beast. She gave it to Suyu so that she could bring it to the far west wastelands to train and grow. At the same time, she could also protect the other party's little fellow. What's wrong with it? Luo Qingtong looked at the snowball wrapped in light. The latter's figure was obviously much bigger and taller than before he left. If the little sky-connecting divine beast was like a furry snowball before, then it was like a big furry ball now. It was unknown how fluffy its snow-white fur was. It looked very smooth and not prickly at all. This guy is about to enter the growth stage. Little Pig popped out of nowhere and looked at Snowball's figure wrapped in white light. His eyes were filled with envy and jealousy. This little furball was about to enter the growth stage, but he was still so round and cute. He didn't have the slightest bit of the demeanor of an ancient divine beast. How could he endure this? Little Pig looked at himself. He had been eating, drinking, and sleeping every day in the Luo family. It was obvious that his body had gained 2 rounds of weight. His heart was filled with grief and indignation. Growth stage. Luo Qingtong was flabbergasted. Entering the growth stage meant that Snowball was about to become a real sky-connecting divine beast. Although its strength couldn't be compared to those powerful adult divine beasts, it already possessed the might and aura of a divine beast. But how could it be so fast? How long has it been? How could this little fellow enter the growth stage? Didn't they say that divine beasts needed a long time to enter the growth stage? Yes, it's in the growth stage. It must have obtained some kind of opportunity with Su Yu in the far west wastelands. That's why it started to transform and enter the growth stage so quickly. Little Pig said. He was filled with envy and jealousy again. Why was this furball's luck so good? Something that could make a divine beast enter the growth stage early must be an extremely precious treasure. Chapter 6:15. So it's like that. Luo Qingtong nodded. What should I do? Presumably, Su Yu didn't know what was going on with Snowball, so he sent it back. It was just that Luo Qingtong hadn't come into contact with the divine connecting beast transformation before, so she didn't know what to do. You can put it into the 9-layer exquisite pagoda. The aura inside will be of great benefit to its transformation. When it completes its transformation, its bloodline strength will be enhanced. Also, Little Pig said, if you can find something beneficial to its transformation during this period of time, its transformation time will be shortened by a lot, and its strength after the transformation will also be stronger. A divine beast cub was the same as a human martial artist. When they were young, the better resources they had, the more solid their foundation would be, and the stronger their strength would be in the future. Heaven connecting divine beasts of the same realm also had different strengths. The only difference was whether or not they were properly raised when they were young. Therefore, among the divine beasts, the cubs born from the more powerful divine beasts had a greater chance of becoming powerful in the future. Besides the bloodline inheritance, the other reason was that powerful divine beasts were better at raising their offspring. This was an unchanging principle everywhere. Something good for its transformation? Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows. What do you mean? A heavenly treasure that has a special effect on a divine beast's transformation. But that is something that can only be found by chance. There is almost no such thing in the true Spill continent. But this little guy is also called a soul-devouring beast, so you should know, right? If you can find something that contains an extremely strong soul force and let it absorb it, it will be of great benefit to its future growth. An extremely strong soul force? Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows and asked, do you mean something like the power of those dead souls in the initial element mystic realm? Yes. But the rank of those dead souls is too low, and it has almost no effect on its transformation. But that dead soul king is pretty good. If only this guy was in the initial element mystic realm, you could have severely wounded that dead soul king and let it absorb it. Eeh. Little Pig laughed as he spoke. Then this guy's strength must be incredible. The Scarlet Moon Flowing Fire Civet is the strongest of the soul-devouring beasts. Of course, if you can get Yi Qianxian's soul for it to absorb, that would be even more incredible. Ah. Luo Qingtong rolled her eyes at it. It didn't even need to think about Yi Qianxian's spiritual power. It was impossible for Luo Qingtong to harm Yi Qianxian's soul. This would be fatal to the latter's future advancement in strength. Originally, the heavenly Tao was going to kill him because of his heavenly vain physique. If anything happened to his soul, then the heavenly Tao would have an even greater opportunity to take advantage of it. Alright, I got it. Powerful soul force, right? Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes and made a mental note of this. However, this thing was not easy to get. It either required the soul force of a Sage Realm expert or an extremely powerful Sage Realm magical artifact that contained soul force. These two things were not easy to find. She would have to depend on her luck when the time came. However, since the snowball was sent back, would Su Yu's strength be insufficient? Thinking of the danger in the far west wilderness, Luo Qingtong thought for a moment and raised her hand to summon the people from the heavenly evil valley. She ordered them to go to the far west wilderness to find Su Yu. Chapter 6:16. As for the Luo family, there were people from the Black Field watching over them, so nothing would happen. What's more, old man Luo was not here, so there was no point for them to stay in the Luo family. They might as well go to the far west wilderness to gain experience. At that time, their strength would increase and Su Yu would have people to help them. In the end, strength and influence were the foundation. If they stayed in the Luo family, they would only be staying in seclusion. On the contrary, going to the far west wilderness was an excellent opportunity for them. In the future, how could the Luo family be limited to this low-level eastern fence country? Luo Qingtong did not forget that old man Luo had told her before that the Luo family used to be an aristocratic family with a soul master inheritance. Among the four great sacred dynasties, there were very few such families and forces that had a soul master inheritance. Each and every one of them was a colossal existence, comparable to the sacred dynasty's royal family. Among them, Luo Qingtong had checked, and there was no family with the surname Luo. Obviously, the Luo family's origin was not simple. It was unknown why they were stranded in the eastern fence country. Since that was the case, Luo Qingtong naturally wanted to increase the Luo family's strength as much as possible. No matter what, since she had become Luo Qingtong, received her body and recognized old man Luo as her grandfather, then she would protect the Luo family. Luo Qingtong had refined all the guns of the Luo family's iron army. These guns with spirit energy conversion inscriptions were her own creation. She added the aura of the Luo family's people to the inscriptions. Other than them, even if others obtained these guns, they would not be able to use them. If someone wanted to forcefully break the inscriptions, the aura on the guns would immediately explode, blowing the guns and the surroundings into pieces. This was a great killing weapon refined by Luo Qingtong, so she naturally would not let others take advantage of it. In addition, Luo Qingtong also made use of the instability of the inscriptions to fiddle with something similar to spirit energy bombs. As long as the Luo family's iron army injected their aura, these spirit energy bombs would immediately explode. When necessary, they could use it to save lives. They naturally couldn't kill those powerful experts, but the same couldn't be said for the people below. This was very useful for the Luo family's iron army. Luo Qingtong believed that Su Yu would make good use of these things. After preparing everything and sending off the Luo clan's iron army and the people of Evil Valley, Luo Qingtong brought little tyrant Yuan, Ling Yu, and the others to Tianyu branch to participate in the annual year-end examination. At the same time, he was also a student of the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin. On that day, all the students in the branch schools would fight for the opportunity to enter the top 10 of the genius ranking and obtain the qualification to enter the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin. Once they entered the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin, it would be like a carp leaping over the Dragon Gate. They would be able to get rid of their original identities and enter the Empire of Qin's holy dynasty to become geniuses. At that time, they could be considered to have truly entered the core of the True Spill continent. The True Spill continent was divided into 4 regions. The eastern region was rich, the western region was desolate, the southern region was mysterious, and the northern region was close to the sea. Among these regions, the eastern region was the most prosperous. There were 4 holy dynasties, many empires and countless small countries. Entering the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin meant entering the Empire of Qin's holy dynasty. They would be able to compete with the proud sons of heaven of the other holy dynasties. The most outstanding of them would become famous in the eastern region, and together with the peerless geniuses of the 4 holy academies, they would be able to compete with the other 4 regions. This was the beginning of a magnificent life, and the legend of Luo Qingtong and her team would begin from here. Chapter 6:17. Bang! In Tianyu Branch Academy, where the elite class were cultivating in seclusion, there was a loud explosion. In the next second, an extremely powerful energy fluctuation suddenly came from one of the secret rooms. Martial King Realm. Feeling the terrifying energy coming from the secret room, the surrounding elite class students cried out in surprise. With the year-end examination around the corner, many people came here to cultivate in seclusion. After all, this was the Tianyu Supermonastery's place for seclusion. The surrounding spiritual energy was abundant. At the same time, There were many cultivation experiences left behind by the previous geniuses. It was extremely beneficial to a cultivator's cultivation. At this moment, feeling the energy coming from the secret room, many people cried out in surprise. It's Senior Jean. That secret room is where Senior Jean Halpin cultivated in seclusion. That's right, I saw Senior Jean Halpin go in. Martial King Realm. I didn't expect Senior Jean to break through to Martial King Realm. Yeah. It seems that Senior Jean and the others have benefited a lot from this trip to the Kaiyuan secret realm. No wonder they are ranked in the top 10 on the genius list. Yeah. I heard that the top 10 students who came out of the Kaiyuan secret realm, except for the cripple Ling Tianhan, have more or less improved their strength. Especially Senior Jean Halping, I didn't expect him to break through to Martial King Realm. You know, the 5th Prince, Yuan Mo, was a genius, but he didn't break through to Martial King Realm when he entered the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. Yeah. But that's because the 5th Prince didn't enter the Kaiyuan secret realm, right? Otherwise, with his talent, his strength would be much higher. After all, he is the only heaven-grade student who entered the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin in all these years. You know, even in the Saint Dynasty of the Empire of Qin, there are not many geniuses who can achieve such results. That's true. I heard that the 5th Prince was a martial lord, but even an ordinary martial king was no match for him. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been evaluated as a heaven-grade freshman. Just as the group of people were chatting away, there was a sudden boom as another aura exploded out from the depths of the seclusion grounds. Another Martial King Realm. Everyone's eyes bulged when they felt the aura that was being released. That seems to be where Senior Sister is cultivating in seclusion? Someone said hesitantly. Senior Sister sure? She broke through to Martial King Realm? My God. This is going to be interesting. 2 Martial Emperor Realm cultivators. I'm afraid the end-of-year examination of our Chanyu branch will be a fierce battle. It will shock the world. I wonder how shocked the instructors of the Great Qin Sacred Academy will be when they come to recruit new students. Ah. One had to know that in the Great Qin Sacred Dynasty, a new student of the Martial King Realm was considered to be extremely talented. Normally, when the Grand Qin Sacred Academy encounters such students, they would be directly recruited. Senior Sister Shi and Senior Brother Jean are definitely going to enter the Great Qin Sacred Academy. Let's see which one of them is the real number 1 in the year-end assessment. Yeah. The crowd kept chiming in. In the headquarters of the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin, the Grand Supreme Dean, who had rushed back from the land beyond the clouds, was shocked when he saw Chu Lingfeng. Chapter 618. How did you get my recommendation card? Looking at Chu Lingfeng, the Grand Supreme Dean was hopping mad. My master gave it to me, Chu Lingfeng answered honestly. The Grand Supreme Dean was hopping mad. This little child of the evil doctor really didn't play by the rules. How could she give away the purple recommendation card he gave her so casually? If she wanted another one, she could ask him for another one. As long as she was willing to come to the Empire of Qin's Holy Academy, it wouldn't be a problem for her to get a few recommendation cards. The Grand Supreme Dean was anxious. He glared at Chu Lingfeng and said, "Tell me your master's name and where he is. Then he would be able to get her into the academy." "I don't know," Chu Lingfeng said with a stiff face. There was no way he could get information from him. Not to mention that he didn't know his master's identity at all. Even if he knew, he wouldn't tell them. Everything about his master was top secret. Unless his master allowed it, he would never reveal it to anyone else. Chu Lingfeng was only a big wolf dog in front of Luo Qingtong. In front of others, he was a wolf. Moreover, he was the kind that didn't recognize his own family and only recognized Luo Qingtong. He was so stubborn. The Grand Supreme Dean looked at Chu Lingfeng's expression that said, "I won't say it, even if you beat me to death, I won't say it." He glared at him and was about to curse. "I'm not going to harm your master. He just wanted to take in a genius student. Was it so difficult?" One had to know that the evil doctor's medical skills were amazing. Only now did he know that she was also an alchemist. If he had known, he wouldn't have pretended to be an expert. He would have just given her 8 or 10 recommendation cards and let her give them to anyone she wanted. As long as she was willing to come to the Empire of Qin's Holy Academy. Thinking of this, the Grand Supreme Dean beat his feet and stomped his chest. However, no matter how he threatened and tempted, Chu Lingfeng, this simple-minded big fool, just ignored him. He kept saying, "I don't know." The Grand Supreme Dean threatened to expel him from the Empire of Qin's Holy Academy if he didn't say it. In the end he turned around and left without another word. Your sister. What kind of master and servant were they? The Grand Supreme Dean glared at Chu Lingfeng. How could he dare to let him go? If he was really expelled from the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin, the Grand Principal was sure that the evil doctor would leave without hesitation if he knew about it. Only by keeping this blockhead would his master be able to stay. Moreover, Chu Lingfeng was quite talented. Not long after he entered the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin, he had almost become the #1 figure in the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin by fighting. There were very few freshmen who could do this. Before Chu Lingfeng, only Yu Wenma was in the limelight. And Chu Lingfeng's limelight was even greater than Yu Wenma's. Yu Wenmo was only in the limelight among his batch of freshmen. Chu Lingfeng, on the other hand, had almost defeated the entire Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. Speaking of this batch of new lunatics, the geniuses of the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin thought of him first. He fought crazily and couldn't be killed no matter what. The more he fought, the crazier he became, which made people feel a little scared. Many of the geniuses of the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin were now avoiding him. The Grand Supreme Dean wouldn't expel Chu Lingfeng unless there was something wrong with his brain. He couldn't do anything to this blockhead. He could only gnash his teeth and let him go. But soon the Grand Supreme Dean thought of something. Chapter 619. It was a last resort. The Grand Dean quickly found Elder Chu's information. After skimming through it, his eyes fixed on the 3 words Luo Qingtong. Could it be this little girl? He shook his head and thought. Seeing that Luo Qingtong was from a low-level marquis's mansion, he did not dare to confirm her identity. Whether it is or not, I'll go and take a look first. Thinking of this, he immediately found the supervisor in charge of the entrance examination to Tianyu Branch School and asked him to bring him to Tianyu Branch School. However, this matter could not be made public in case too many people wanted to visit him. He found it troublesome. At the same time, in the seclusion room of Tianyu Branch School. In the depths of the seclusion room where Shi Qingqing was. Looking at the aura around her, she felt proud and a little regretful. It's a pity that I can't break through to the intermediate Martial King realm. However, Shi Qingqing was already very satisfied with her strength. At least it was one step higher than the initial Martial King realm. Before this, she had never thought that she could break through to the Martial King realm and even advance further. This 100 ghost streamer is indeed powerful. I wonder what level of treasure it is. Shi Qingqing looked at the 100 ghost streamer in her hand. The more she cultivated, the more she could feel the power of this 100 ghost streamer. Through this 100 ghost streamer, she immediately grasped all the martial skills and combat experience of a Martial King realm malicious ghost. Her strength of the Martial King realm was not superficial at all. It was very solid. If not for the lack of time, she might be able to reach the intermediate Martial King realm through this 100 ghost streamer. However, it did not matter. Even if she did not reach that level of strength, she could temporarily exert that kind of power through the 100 ghost streamer. This 100 ghost streamer is already so powerful, and it might be a treasure above the sage realm. As Shi Qingqing thought of this, the charming expression on her face became prouder and prouder. With this 100 ghost streamer, the first place of this year's year-end examination will definitely be mine. Luo Qingtong, thank you for giving me this opportunity. After I win the 5th prince's heart, I will definitely bring him to pay respects to you on the anniversary of your death. I only hope that you won't vomit blood in anger when you're underground. Shi Qingqing said with a proud smile. She raised her hand and stroked her hair. Then she walked out of the secret room with graceful steps. Senior Shi. Everyone was pleasantly surprised when they saw her walk out. Immediately, some people came up to her and said respectfully, "Congratulations, Senior Sister Shi, for breaking through to the Martial King realm. You and Senior Brother Jean will be the champion of this year's year-end assessment." Congratulations, Senior Sister. Yeah, Martial King realm. Senior Sister Shi is so awesome. Previously, when Little Tyrant Yuan and the others returned, they even said that Senior Sister Shi and the others wanted to harm them. How laughable. With Senior Sister Shi and the others' strength, why would they need to harm a few trashy students? Exactly. He was overestimating himself. I think they are deliberately trying to slander Senior Shi and the others. Weren't Yuan Hu and the others close to Luo Qingtong? I heard that they even called Luo Qingtong boss. I think they are holding a grudge against Senior Shi and the others for assigning Luo Qingtong to the trashy class. That's why they are deliberately slandering Senior Shi and the others. Exactly. These people from the trashy class are really disgusting. Their strength is not enough, so they use these unorthodox tricks. If you ask me, it would be better if they really died in the Kaiyuan secret realm. Chapter 620. Luo Qingtong and the others didn't die? She didn't expect them to be so lucky that they didn't die. But it was good that they didn't die. She was worried that Luo Qingtong died too early and there was no way for her to vent her hatred. Thinking of this, the light in Shi Qingqing's eyes became incomparably vicious. You know it too, right? Luo Qingtong and the others didn't die. Somewhere in Tianyu Branch courtyard, Shi Qingqing found Zhan Haoping. The latter had just come out of seclusion and received the news. Hearing this, his face became gloomy. I didn't expect them to be so lucky that they didn't die. Zhan Haoping gritted his teeth. Humph. It's good that they didn't die. Shi Qingqing sneered and sneered. Luo Qingtong almost killed us in the Kaiyuan secret realm. If we weren't lucky, we would have been besieged to death by those dead souls. Don't you want to take revenge on her? Speaking of this, she sneered. Previously we were afraid of her strength. But now that our strength has increased to the martial king realm, we don't have to be afraid of her anymore. Moreover, we don't know what injuries she suffered in the Kaiyuan secret realm. Otherwise, she would have come to settle the score with us after leaving the Kaiyuan secret realm. Since she didn't come, it means that she doesn't dare to do anything to us. However, Shi Qingqing didn't know that the reason why Luo Qingtong didn't come back to deal with them was that the imperial family of Tianyu had attacked the Luo family. Otherwise, this group of people would have long been deader than dead. There would be no chance for her to be arrogant here. You mean? Zhan Haoping looked at her. Ha! Shi Qingqing chuckled. I heard that when little Overlord Yuan and the others came back, they went to find the mentors and said that we wanted to harm them in the Kaiyuan secret realm. But they were chased out by the mentors. You said, if they overestimated themselves and wanted to participate in this year's year-end assessment to take revenge on us, wouldn't they deserve to be beaten to death in the arena? Speaking of this, Shi Qingqing's gentle and elegant face was indescribably cold and vicious. They overestimated themselves. Even if they died, they would have died in vain. And we were forced to take action. Even if we killed them, there was nothing we could do. I believe that the instructors of the academy and the examiners of the Sacred Academy of the Empire of Qin will understand us. What do you think? Shi Qingqing's words were very obvious. She wanted to take advantage of the end-of-year assessment to scheme against Luo Qingtong and the others. She wanted them to register for the end-of-year assessment. At that time, they could openly kill Luo Qingtong and the others in the ring. In any case, when others talked about it, they would only say that Luo Qingtong and the others had overestimated themselves and were seeking their own deaths. As for them, they would be able to get rid of all future troubles. Otherwise, with Luo Qingtong's strength, she would be a great disaster. She must not be allowed to live. As soon as Shi Qingqing said that, Zhan Haoping's face instantly lit up with a smile. Good. Junior sister Shi is indeed resourceful. He smiled sinisterly and said, I'll immediately go find the teacher to make arrangements and let him put Luo Qingtong and the others' names on the list for the end-of-year assessment. At that time, we'll say that they registered themselves. At that time, we'll ruthlessly humiliate them in the ring and then kill them. Ah. As he said that, he laughed and left. And Shi Qingqing also left with a sweet smile on her face. Chapter 621. What's going on? Looking at the notice in their hands, little Tyrant Yuan and the others were surprised. What was going on? They hadn't even gone to register yet. Why did the notice for the year-end examination come out? Who would give these freshmen who had just entered the academy a notice for the year-end assessment? Is there a mistake? Little Tyrant Yuan asked. I'll go ask. Before he could finish his sentence, Ling Yu and Ling Tianhan walked in with cold faces. It's not a mistake. Yes, your names are on it. Ling Tianhan said coldly, the whole academy is talking about it. They say that you guys overestimate yourselves and are vicious. You came back to accuse Shi Qingqing and the others but failed, so you want to cause trouble in the year-end examination to take revenge on Shi Qingqing and the others. Before he could finish his words, Ling Yu lashed her whip fiercely in the air and said angrily, right now, everyone in the academy is saying that you deserve it. When you die on the arena, you can't blame anyone else. Some people even said that they will teach you a lesson for daring to attack Shi Qingqing and the others who want to win glory for the academy. I'm so angry. Ling Yu couldn't hold back her temper. If it wasn't for my big brother stopping me and telling me not to bother with these stupid people who are being used by others, I would have whipped them to death. Bastards. She gritted her teeth and said, "This is definitely done by Shi Qingqing and the others. That woman on the surface looks elegant and gentle, but in fact she is more vicious than anyone. When we were in danger in the Kaiyuan mystic realm, it was Shi Qingqing who first suggested to push us to our deaths to block those dead souls." At this point Ling Yu gnashed her teeth in anger. This time the list included Little Tyrant Yuan, Luo Qingtong, Sima Ju, and Su Xiaoxiao's names, but only her name wasn't on the list. Wasn't that enough to prove everything? This was clearly a conspiracy by Shi Qingqing and the others. They wanted to kill Luo Qingtong and the others in the year-end examination so that they wouldn't be able to do anything after entering the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin. These bastards, their thoughts were too insidious. Not only did they want to kill Luo Qingtong and the others, but they also wanted to make Luo Qingtong and the others take the blame, making people think that they were courting death. At that time, Shi Qingqing and the others would be able to attack without any burden. These bastards wanted to deal with Luo Qingtong and the others, and they also wanted a good reputation. They really took all the benefits. Why don't they go to heaven? Ling Yu really wanted to rush in front of Shi Qingqing and the others right now and give them a good beating. Luo Qingtong's lips curled up slightly as she listened to their conversation. If Shi Qingqing and the others dare to do this, they must have something to rely on, right? Her expression was indifferent. Back in the Kaiyuan mystic realm, when Shi Qingqing and the others faced her, they fled in panic like dogs. If it wasn't for the large number of dead souls blocking her attack, Shi Qingqing and the others would have been killed on the spot by her sword. How could they leave the Kaiyuan mystic realm and return to the Tianyu branch? Not to mention destroying the light door. Wasn't it because they were afraid that she would come back alive to deal with them? Now that they dared to be so arrogant, they must have received some benefits. Chapter 622. Yes. Ling Tianhan nodded solemnly. Shi Qingqing and Zhan Haoping have both broken through to the Martial King realm. The others have almost reached the peak of the Martial Lord realm. This year's batch of Tianyu branch students was really the peak in history. When Yu Wenma and the others were admitted to the Empire of Qin Holy Academy, they weren't even this strong. The opening of the secret realm of Kaiyuan really benefited many students. Shi Qingqing and the others became so arrogant because of this. Otherwise, with their previous strength, how would they dare to scheme against Luo Qingtong? When they heard that the latter didn't die and had returned to Tianyu branch, they would have been so scared that they fell to the ground. Martial King realm? The smile in Luo Qingtong's eyes was obvious. No wonder. No wonder they dared to be so arrogant. Did they think their strength was enough to deal with him? A bunch of idiots. Little Tyrant Yuan said with disdain. They really think their Martial King realm is powerful? They don't know your strength or they would have peed their pants. When he said this, he suddenly laughed. Hey, what do you think if Shi Qingqing and the others wanted to deal with Boss, but found out that Boss's strength completely crushed them, what kind of expression would they have? A bunch of pigs. They thought their strength could crush Boss. At that time they would know how to write the word, death. Thinking of this, Little Tyrant Yuan was no longer angry. Sima Ju, Su Xiaoxiao, Ling Yu and Ling Tianhan also laughed. Shi Qingqing and the others probably don't know that we came back this time for the year-end examination. They even schemed against us to participate in the year-end examination. What is this called? Sleepy meeting a pillow? Lifting a rock and smashing their own feet? Ling Yu was also amused as she spoke. She put away the whip in her hand. No, I have to go and sign up quickly. Shi Qingqing and the others are afraid of offending our Ling family, so I didn't have a part in this scheme. My name isn't on the list for the year-end examination. At that time, I can't let all of you be in the limelight. Qingtong and my big brother will deal with Shi Qingqing and Zhan Haoping. We can't let the people below go. They won't even get a single spot in the top 10 of the year-end assessment. Ling Yu said, and like a whirlwind she rushed out. Seeing this, Luo Qingtong and the others burst into laughter. When Luo Qingtong and the others received the notice of the end-of-year assessment, Shi Qingqing entered the dean's office with a look of surprise and nervousness. She had only just found out that the Saint Realm expert from the Empire of Qin who had come to Tianyu branch wanted to see her. A Saint Realm expert. This was a senior teacher of the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. As a heaven-grade freshman, Yuan Mo's strength was extraordinary. After entering the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin, he was recognized by a Saint Realm teacher by chance and was accepted as a last disciple. He hadn't expected that a Saint Realm expert would want to see him. Shi Qingqing was pleasantly surprised and pleased. Dean, Saint Realm Expert. Shi Qingqing walked gracefully to the two people in the room and bowed respectfully. You may rise. Looking at Shi Qingqing, the Saint Realm Expert nodded in satisfaction. After dealing with the matters at Tianyu branch, he was prepared to leave. Chapter 623. An expert who had surpassed the Saint Realm like the Grand Dean was not someone that ordinary people could meet. This Saint Realm expert naturally did not want to miss the opportunity. But he did not expect to find Shi Qingqing such a good seedling. Soul-devouring constitution, special soul seal? Vaguely sensing Shi Qingqing's constitution, the Saint Realm expert nodded with satisfaction. Very good, not bad. I didn't expect you to be able to awaken your soul seal. And the type and level of your soul seal are so good. Self-awakening? Level? Shi Qingqing keenly understood the hidden meaning in the Saint Realm expert's words. Wasn't the soul seal something innate? How could it be awakened after birth? And the soul seal had a level? Shi Qingqing didn't know about this. The difference in foundation between the Tianyu branch and the Great Qin Sacred Academy's main school was huge. Judging from this Saint Realm expert's words, he seemed to be very interested in her soul seal. Shi Qingqing became excited at the thought of this. Saint Realm expert, you flatter me? Shi Qingqing clenched her hands nervously and said, I don't know what happened. I suddenly awakened my soul seal. In fact, the ability of her soul seal was given to her by the 100 Ghost Streamer. She did not know what level the 100 Ghost Streamer was. It was so powerful. Even though it was damaged, it still had such an ability. It was definitely a treasure that even a Saint Realm expert coveted. Thinking of this, Shi Qingqing replied very carefully. Yes. The Saint Realm expert nodded and did not ask any more questions. He just looked at Shi Qingqing and said, Are you willing to be my unofficial disciple? Unofficial disciple? Unofficial disciple of a Saint Realm expert? Shi Qingqing's heart thumped wildly. This was the unofficial disciple of a Saint Realm expert. Although it was not as good as the last disciple, it was not easy to become the last disciple of a Saint Realm expert. Even with Yu Wenma's talent and strength, after entering the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin, he was taken in as the last disciple of a Saint Realm instructor by chance. Shi Qingqing knew that if it were not for her soul-devouring constitution, this Saint Realm expert would not even look at her. After all, her strength was not so strong before. But things were different now. With the 100 Ghost banner and the soul-devouring physique, he would only become stronger and stronger. At that time, how difficult would it be to become a closed-door disciple? Shi Qingqing immediately knelt down in front of the Saint Realm expert and said with joy, I'm willing, Qingqing is willing. Teacher, please accept Qingqing's bow. Yes, very good. The Saint Realm expert looked at the joyful expression on Shi Qingqing's face and felt very pleased. Your soul-devouring body is pretty good. You can display the strength of a medium-level martial king with the strength of a lower-level martial king. If nothing unexpected happens, you should be the first in this year's year-end exam. Remember not to be arrogant, lest others take advantage of you and embarrass me. Yes, teacher, I will definitely remember this. Shi Qingqing agreed with a smile. Then she thought of the matter with Luo Qingtong and the others. She did not want this Saint Realm expert to have a bad impression of her, so she immediately changed her appearance and told him about this matter. In her words, Luo Qingtong and the others were vile people who had plotted against her in the Kaiyuan Mystery Land and slandered her after they came out. Chapter 624. So what? They're just a few blind students. You can teach them a lesson if you want. I'll take responsibility for everything. That Saint Realm expert didn't care about this matter at all. Shi Qingqing was his disciple. He would not allow anyone to bully her. Since those students had plotted against her, they should pay the price. As for Shi Qingqing's tampering with the list of candidates for the year-end assessment, it was just a small matter. Thinking of this, he immediately waved his hand with an indifferent look on his face. After hearing his words, Shi Qingqing's face was full of smiles. Her eyes were full of pride as she walked out of the door of the dean's office. Luo Qingtong, just wait to die. This year-end assessment will be the most humiliating and miserable place for you to die. Shi Qingqing had planned everything. She would let Luo Qingtong and the others die in grievance and disdain in the year-end assessment. While Shi Qingqing was feeling very proud, in the dormitory of the lower class of Tianyu branch, Luo Qingtong asked little tyrant Yuan and the others to protect her while she began to heal the injuries in her meridians. Previously, when she was healing Yi Qianxian, although the man stopped her for a moment, Luo Qingtong's meridians, which had not been healed, were torn apart again. However, Luo Qingtong also gained some benefits. In the Kaiyuan secret realm, she had forcibly raised her mid-level martial king strength and completely consolidated it. At this moment, her aura was extremely solid. She only needed to wait for the right opportunity to break through to the upper-level martial king realm. Swoosh! A bloody light appeared in Luo Qingtong's eyes. She activated her pupil technique and began to repair her meridians. At the same time, she imprisoned a trace of Yi Qianxian's aura. She found that after the man's aura entered her body and entered her meridians, it seemed to be purified and turned into the purest spiritual qi. No wonder Yi Qianxian's power could improve her strength. Luo Qingtong tried to absorb a trace of little tyrant Yuan and the others' power, but found that their power was still their power in her body. It did not turn into her own power like Yi Qianxian's. This was strange. Only Yi Qianren's power could do it? Luo Qingtong's eyes twitched when she thought of what the man had said. She was the only one who could absorb his power. It seemed that there was indeed a secret in his body. And this secret had something to do with Yi Qianxian's heavenly veins constitution. Thinking of this, Luo Qingtong fell into deep thought. He didn't know if this was brought over from the 24th century or if this body originally had a secret. If this body was already there, it was most likely related to the Luo family. Otherwise it was related to his cheap mother. Thinking of the original owner's mother, Luo Qingtong frowned. The other party's background seemed to be very mysterious. Grandfather Luo had always been secretive about the host's parents. She didn't know if it was because he was afraid that she would be sad if she heard it. Luo Qingtong originally wanted to find a chance to ask Grandfather Luo, but before she could speak, the old man was taken away by the flying phoenix mark. When this matter at the Tianyu branch school was over, she would go to the Chu sacred dynasty and ask about this matter clearly. Thinking of this, Luo Qingtong suddenly immersed herself in the repair of her meridians. Just as Luo Qingtong was healing her meridians in the Tianyu branch school, the annual end-of-year examination had completely begun. Boss. Chapter 625. All the arrays in Tianyu branch were activated, making the buildings in Tianyu branch look extremely luxurious, like a fairyland. This was the annual grand event of Tianyu branch and a major event of the entire Tianyu Empire. Many forces of the Tianyu Empire would come to watch the end-of-year examination on this day. At the same time, they wanted to see who had entered the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. The status of the students who entered the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin would be greatly improved in the Tianyu Empire. The gate of Tianyu branch was surrounded by carriages of aristocratic families. The guards at the gate of Tianyu branch announced their names one by one. At this moment a voice sounded. Duke Ling's mansion of the Tianyu Empire is here. As this voice resounded, the surroundings instantly fell silent. Duke Ling's mansion. Everyone knew about the recent changes in the imperial capital of the Tianyu Empire. The imperial family of the Tianyu Empire was destroyed and Duke Ling's mansion took the throne. The people of Duke Ling's mansion had already moved to the imperial capital and became the new ruler of the Tianyu Empire. The reason why they were still using the name of Duke Ling's mansion was that they hadn't received the letter of request from the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. Once they were recognized by the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin, the Ling family would be the new imperial family of the Tianyu Empire. And it was time to change the name of the Tianyu Empire. Seeing Duke Ling and the others get off the carriages, the masters of aristocratic families all gathered around them. If it were another aristocratic family, even if they destroyed the imperial family of the Tianyu Empire, it wouldn't be so easy for them to become the new emperor of the Tianyu Empire. But the Ling family had the support of evil Dr. Ghost Eye. It was said that even the Lanyue family had helped them. With such an honor, the Ling family's position was as stable as Mount Tai. Unless something happened to evil Dr. Ghost Eye or the Ling family fell out with evil Dr. Ghost Eye, the aristocratic families of the Tianyu Empire wouldn't dare to act rashly even if they coveted the supreme throne. They could only watch the Ling family take the throne with envy and jealousy. They really didn't know what kind of luck they had. Out of so many people, evil physician Gui Tong only picked them to be the successors of Tianyu's royal family. Even as a puppet, there were many aristocratic families in the Tianyu Empire who wanted to win Ghost Eye's favor. Just as the people from the aristocratic families were greeting Duke Ling and the others with envy and jealousy, The voice of the guard from Tianyu branch sounded again. The Yanyu family of the Tianyu Empire is here. Following this voice, the group of people immediately turned their heads to look at the path they had come from. The Lanyue family's carriage appeared before everyone's eyes. It was a carriage that only the family head of the direct line of descent could ride. The old master of the Lanyue family. Seeing the carriage stop at the entrance of the Tianyu Branch Academy and elder Lanyue walk out from it, everyone immediately cried out in alarm. Old Duke Ling, on the other hand, immediately went up to greet him with a smile when he saw old Master Yanyu get off the carriage. "Ah, old master, I didn't expect you to come too," he said with a smile. "You're also here for that person, right?" Speaking of that person, old Duke Ling's heart was filled with emotions. He didn't expect it at all. The evil Dr. Ghost Eye that he admired so much turned out to be Luo Qingtong from the eastern border country. How many people underestimated the strength and ability of the daughter of a marquis from a low-level country? Chapter 626. If Luo Qingtong hadn't been willing to reveal it herself, old Duke Ling would never have guessed it even if he racked his brains. When he heard the news from his grandson, he thought they were joking. After confirming that it was true, he felt like he was living in a dream for a period of time. Damn, this world was too fantastical. Old Duke Lanyue was no less surprised than him. When Luo Qingtong asked him for help, she didn't deliberately hide her identity. In addition, Xiaoxi was rescued in Nine Magi Mountain. With the Lanyue family's ability, they could naturally find out Luo Qingtong's identity. They didn't expect that Luo Qingtong was the evil Dr. Ghost Eye. The people of Tianyu's imperial family were really digging their own graves. If they had treated the Luo family and Luo Qingtong better back then, they wouldn't have ended up like this. When old Duke Lanyue heard that Luo Qingtong was going to participate in the Tianyu branch's end-of-year examination, he naturally came to support her. Old Duke Lanyue's arrival surprised everyone in the Tianyu branch. One had to know that the Lanyue family's foundation was extraordinary. The disciples of the Lanyue family were all directly admitted to the Empire of Qin's Cinque Court to cultivate. As for the young master of the Lanyue family, he was even more amazing. That was someone at the level of a peerless genius. The place where he was located was something that even the Empire of Qin's Cinque Court couldn't reach. Under such circumstances, old Duke Lanyue's appearance in the Tianyu branch immediately caused the entire school to move out. Everyone crowded around old Duke Lanyue and appeared in the stands next to the end-of-year examination arena. Under the envious and jealous gazes of everyone, old Duke Ling was invited by old Duke Lanyue and sat directly next to him. One had to know that that was the seat of the first row. It was also the seat where the people of the Empire of Qin's Cinque Court would sit. Even the dean of the Tianyu branch wasn't qualified to sit there. However, with old Master Lanyue's invitation, old Duke Ling was able to secure a seat among them. And all of this was because of Luo Qingtong. Old Duke Ling sat there and was very clear in his heart. As for the aristocratic families of the Tianyu Empire, seeing Master Lanyue's actions, they no longer had any thoughts of opposing the Ling family. With the support of evil Dr. Ghost Eye and the help of the Lanyue family, the Ling family was definitely going to sit on the throne. While everyone was heading to the spectator stands, the people from the Sacred Academy of the Empire of Qin also arrived. Screech! An incomparably sharp cry rang out, and then an incomparably ferocious and mighty bird appeared in front of everyone. Rank 8 Demonic Beast. Looking at the huge bird that seemed to contain incomparable power descending from the sky, the surrounding people suddenly let out a burst of exclamations. A rank 8 monstrous beast. That was a powerful monstrous beast comparable to a martial ancestor. Once it reached tier 9, it would only be a step away from transforming into a divine beast. Some powerful 9th stage demonic beasts could even fight against Saint Realm experts. Seeing the huge rank 8 demonic beast descending with the people from the Sacred Academy of the Empire of Qin on its back, the people from the Tianyu branch finally realized how powerful the Sacred Academy of the Empire of Qin was. A random team sent to recruit students from the Sacred Academy of the Empire of Qin was already so powerful. How powerful was the real Sacred Academy of the Empire of Qin? However, they were amazed in their hearts, but they didn't know that the leader of the team from the Sacred Academy of the Empire of Qin was full of helplessness. Grandine, didn't you say that you were here to recruit students from the Tianyu branch? Chapter 627. Clang, clang, clang. As the students of the Empire of Qin landed on the spectator stand, the bell that signaled the start of the end-of-year examination rang violently. Students of Tianyu branch began to head to the martial arts practice field in the center of the school. In the dormitory of the lower class, Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. She raised her head to look outside and then closed her eyes again. What's the hurry? Let Shi Qingqing and the others be arrogant for a while. If I don't give them some hope, how will they know what despair is? Luo Qingtong liked to hunt down others when they were at their proudest. That kind of prey was the most delicious. Moreover, Shi Qingqing and the others. If I let them die so easily, how can I be worthy of them attacking me and the others? No matter what, I have to let them perform well. When they are satisfied with their performance, I'll go on the stage. Let's watch monkeys perform tricks. Isn't that right? Swish. Luo Qingtong raised her hand. A blood-red glow suddenly appeared in her eyes. A series of perfect moves flashed out from the screen. They were the cultivation methods and martial arts techniques that Luo Qingtong found from the bodies of the martial emperors when she killed the royal family of Tianyu. She could use this opportunity to familiarize herself with them. Cultivation methods and martial arts techniques. Who would complain about having too many? In particular, there were several cultivation methods of wind and thunder, which were suitable to be used together with the wind and thunder sword. After all, as her strength increased, she would have to hide the life and death yin-yang sword. A man's wealth is his own ruin. Luo Qingtong didn't forget Tian Mingzi's advice. Bang, bang, bang. In the martial arts practice field of Tianyu branch, the fight was fierce. As soon as Shi Qingqing showed her strength, she suppressed the whole field. The people of Tianyu branch didn't expect her strength to become so strong. Her strength was close to that of a middle-level martial king. The students on the stage were no match for her. Bang. As Zhang Haoping was also kicked off the arena, Shi Qingqing's figure spun in the air above the arena. She looked at Zhang Haoping, who was crawling to his feet below the arena, and smiled. "Senior brother Zhang, you admit it." Zhang Haoping remained silent with a cold face. Shi Qingqing's strength was not just a little bit stronger than his. Damn it, this woman had hidden herself too deeply. Seeing that Zhang Haoping, who had just entered the martial king realm, was beaten off the stage, the Tianyu branch students were all shocked. Wow. Senior brother Zhang also lost. It looks like Senior Shi has really gotten first place in the year-end assessment this time. Yes. Senior sister Shi was too strong. By the way, where did Luo Qingtong and the others go? They said they wanted to take part in the end-of-year assessment to take revenge on Senior Shi and the others. Don't tell me he got scared and ran away? I don't know, I think so too. Otherwise, why haven't they appeared yet? Speaking of which, these students from the trash class are really disgusting. They hate Senior Shi and the others. It's fine if they slander them, but they actually want to cause trouble for them during the end-of-year exam. Do they really think that senior sisters are easy to talk to because they're afraid of them? Exactly. This group of people, not to mention that their strength was trash, even their people were trash. Let's go and find him. Let's have some fun. As the group of people talked, many of them ran toward the dormitory of the lower class. Chapter 628. Among those people, there were naturally people under her control. Luo Qingtong, are you afraid? You don't dare to come? Unfortunately, even if you don't dare to come, force me. I'll force you to come. Today is the day you die in the arena of the year-end assessment. Thinking of Luo Qingtong's slash at her in the secret realm of Kaiyuan, Shi Qingqing still felt a faint pain in her ribs. Not to mention that Luo Qingtong deliberately set her up and made her fight with Yuan Xue, completely losing face. This time she would make Luo Qingtong pay her back with interest. She would make her kneel in the arena and beg for mercy with tears and snot running down her face. Then, when she was done admiring her, she would pretend to be careless and kill her directly. Thinking of such a scene, the viciousness in Shi Qingqing's eyes became more intense. Luo Qingtong, get out of here. In the dormitory area of the lower class, a group of people arrived noisily. They stood at the door of Luo Qingtong's dormitory and shouted, "Didn't you say you wanted to take revenge on Senior Shi and the others? Didn't you say you were going to participate in the end-of-year assessment? Get out of here. Don't be a coward in there." That's right. Get out of here or don't blame us for being rude. Aya? Why are you talking so much to them? I think they're just scared. Let's go. Let's smash the door and drag them out. As the group of people spoke, someone immediately rushed up. Bang. Before those people could even touch the door, a burst of violent energy suddenly blasted out from the dormitory. In an instant, the few students of Tianyu branch who rushed up were sent flying. And those standing outside the dormitory who didn't have time to act were also sent flying while howling. Sure, Qingqing and the others can't wait to die? Let's fulfill their wish. Little Overlord Yuan's loud voice rang out. In an instant, a group of people strode out from inside, feeling the tyrannical strength emitted from their bodies. In an instant, the people lying on the ground and howling miserably were shocked. These were the people from the trash class. How did they become so strong? Especially Yuan, Little Overlord, he actually sent them all flying without using the petrification soul seal. And Sima Ju, why was his aura so tyrannical? Even Su Xiaoxiao, who looked so delicate and weak and would cry at the slightest provocation, had such a fierce aura. And Ling Tianhan. Oh my god. Everyone looked at the long sword in Ling Tianhan's right hand in shock. His hand healed? Back then, his talent and strength were enough to compete with the fifth prince. He had only fallen silent because his right hand was crippled. Later on, he relied on his left hand to return to the top 10 of the genius ranking. Was he back again? Just as they were still in shock. Da-da-da. The boots hit the ground, making a clear and loud sound. Luo Qingtong appeared in front of them. The young girl's fiery figure set off her surging aura, instantly causing the people lying on the ground to forget their miserable cries. Medium Martial King Realm. Luo Qingtong's aura was even more tyrannical than Shi Qingqing's, who said that Luo Qingtong and the others were overestimating themselves by participating in the end-of-year assessment, who said that they were seeking their own deaths. Stand out, we guarantee that we won't kill you. Damn, this aura, this strength, who was the one seeking their own deaths? Everyone stared at Luo Qingtong, but the latter directly turned around and walked past them. Chapter 629. In the arena of Tianyu branch, the top 10 of the year-end assessment had been decided. Shi Qingqing stood at the top and looked down at Zhang Haoping and the others. The top 10 of this year's year-end assessment were basically all their people. The top 10 students on the genius ranking who had entered the Kaiyuan mystic realm with her and survived had all stabilized their positions. Only 2 dark horses from the elite class had suddenly appeared. They must have had other opportunities in the Kaiyuan secret realm and had suddenly improved their strength by leaps and bounds. They had obtained the last 2 spots in the top 10. Looking at the people around her, Shi Qingqing's expression was elegant, but her eyes were full of pride. In the past, she had only been 7th on the genius list. Now, those who had been in the top 7 had to look up to her. The students of Tianyu branch were all under her feet. Luo Qingtong, all of this was thanks to your sword. When you appear later, I will definitely treat you well. Ah, the saint has good taste. The top of this year's year-end assessment is definitely Shi Qingqing. Congratulations to the saint for obtaining such a good disciple. In the stands, seeing Shi Qingqing standing alone and aloof from the world and no one dared to challenge her, the dean and the instructors of Tianyu branch all smiled and said to the saint from the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. Don't mention it. This is all thanks to Tianyu branch. It is rare for someone like Shi Qingqing to be able to rely on herself to awaken the soul seal so perfectly. Her future will definitely be limitless. Branch Dean, we should share the same joy. The Saint Realm expert smiled faintly. Hearing this, the Dean of Tianyu branch laughed as well. This is nothing. It's all thanks to the Kaiyuan secret realm. The Dean of Tianyu branch was very glad that he had shamelessly asked Song Cheng to help him open the Kaiyuan secret realm. Speaking of which, Song Cheng had disappeared after the light door had been destroyed. He had said that he was going to the Kaiyuan secret realm to find his precious disciple. Elder Song's disciple was among the people who had met with mishap in the Kaiyuan secret realm? The Dean was very uneasy. Could it be Ling Tianhan or Ling Yu? Only this pair of brother and sister could possibly gain Elder Song's appreciation, especially since the Ling family had obtained such a great fortune recently. Perhaps it was all thanks to Elder Song. Otherwise, how would they know the evil Dr. Ghost Eye? Did he get involved with the Lanyue family again? The more the branch dean thought about it, the more convinced he became. Unfortunately, he could not contact Elder Song. Otherwise, he could tell him that Ling Tianhan and Ling Yu were fine. Old Man Lanyue and Old Duke Ling just smiled at each other when the Tianyu branch principal was talking to that Saint Realm expert. Shi Qingqing was considered powerful. That was because they had yet to see the girl who was even more stunning than her. Thinking of Luo Qingtong's strength, the 2 men's faces showed a mocking smile. Unless Luo Qingtong didn't appear, the first place in the year-end assessment would never fall on Shi Qingqing's head. On the arena, the instructor in charge of the assessment raised his voice and shouted, "Is there anyone else who wants to challenge?" The top 10 of the year-end assessment had been decided. If there was no one else who wanted to challenge, the 10 of them would be the new students of the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. The surroundings were quiet. The instructor in charge of the assessment asked 3 times in a row. Chapter 630. Isn't there a group of students from the trash class who said they wanted to challenge Senior Shi and the others? That's right. Why don't I see them? They probably know that Senior Shi and the others are too strong, so they admitted defeat. Ah. They signed up but didn't dare to participate. Luo Qingtong and the others are really shameless. That's right. The trash from the lower class should just obediently stay in the trash can. Why are they jumping around for no reason? It's a good thing they didn't come. Otherwise, even if they died in the arena this time, I'm afraid they deserved it. If I were Senior Shi and the others, I definitely wouldn't show mercy. So that I won't have to see some trash jumping around in the future. The group of people all talked at once. Among them, of course, many were arranged by Shi Qingqing. Just as the group of people were talking enthusiastically, the crowd of students from the academy suddenly retreated like Moses parting the sea. Da-da-da. White exquisite boots stepped on the ground, making an extremely rhythmic sound. Crisp and resounding. The girl's peerlessly beautiful face, coupled with the fiery red clothes on her body, made her look like a peerless goddess slowly stepping out of the flames. Every step seemed to be stepping on the tip of everyone's heart. She shed off the ordinary look that she usually deliberately restrained, and showed off her own peerless beauty. At this moment, Luo Qingtong was so beautiful that it made people suffocate. In this world, only she could wear the red clothes on her body, making it 3 parts coquettish and 7 parts bewitching. The young girl's face was hard to describe. She led little Tyrant Yuan and the others out from the back of the academy students. Her domineering and ostentatious aura, as well as her stunning and enchanting aura, caused people to unconsciously back away. Some people should be born to be the overlords of this world. There was no need for words to make people submit. Luo Qingtong. It's Luo Qingtong and the others. The students from Tianyu branch turned their heads one by one. When they saw Luo Qingtong and little Tyrant Yuan and the others behind her, they immediately widened their eyes and opened their mouths wide. Oh my god. That's Luo Qingtong and the others? Are they from the trash class? Not to mention anything else, why is Yuan little overlord's aura so much stronger? And that fairy-like youth beside him, who is he? Isn't that little bunny-like girl Su Xiaoxiao? I remember that she loved to cry and was timid and shy. How did she become? Everyone was surprised to see Su Xiaoxiao following Luo Qingtong with a shy and strong face. Between her fingers, there were many bottles of liquid medicine, which she spun in the air like she was showing off her skills. The auras of countless medicinal liquids fused together. This wasn't Su Xiaoxiao deliberately showing off. Instead, she was following the aura emitted by the top 10 students of the year-end assessment on the arena in front of her and began to mix the proportions of the medicinal liquid in her hands. She was analyzing what kind of medicinal liquid would be the best combination to deal with the opponent. As a combat pharmacist, Su Xiaoxiao naturally couldn't start preparing the medicinal liquid when she was on the stage. The other party wouldn't give her such a chance. What was even more shocking was yet to come. Look at Ling Tianhan, his right hand is healed? Oh my god. Zhang Haoping and the others are in trouble. Ling Tianhan used to be a genius on par with the 5th prince, UNMO. The person who said this was a senior student who knew of Ling Tianhan's past glory. The other freshman also cried out. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.